to very honored Frater BT's Esoterinerd podcast, episode 99, in which I interview Amandeep Singh, also known as SwarAdi. But first, I'm very happy to introduce a new segment to the Esoterinerd podcast called Indian Magic with Piyu. So Nazar, Lagna is the evil eye?
Nazar, Lagna is evil eye. Nazar means evil eye, and Lagna means you're getting all these negative vibes from people, like evil eye.
Isn't Nazar just seeing?
Nazar is seeing, but Nazar is like seeing anything or anybody with negativity.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So if someone's jealous, they see you're happy and they project negativity at you. And so the solution to that is on the full moon you burn 7 red chilies, and that's called...
And the solution of this is Nazar Utarna. Utarna means washing away all these negativities.
Yeah.
So it's very common in India, like we wait for full moon and we do this small ritual of Nazar Utarna, like washing away all this darkness, this negative energy. And it's a very small ritual. Like we take 7 red chilies, dried red chilies, okay, and that person or that girl or guy, whoever, has to stand barefoot on ground, and just he or she don't have to speak, and just standing silently, not talking. And the person who is doing this ritual has to rotate these 7 red dried chilies clockwise 3 times, and 3 times anti-clockwise, like especially around your face, and then they burn it. And if it will make too much sound, and then it means you don't have that negative energy in you. Like it's clear. I mean, just you are worrying.
Yeah.
There's nothing bad.
Okay.
Yeah. But if no fumes, no smoke is coming, and it's not burning, whenever you'll burn red chilies, you'll cough na. Fumes will come, smoke will come. But if no smoke will come, just you burned it and it's like silently burning, that means it's taking away all your negativity inside it, all these red chilies.
Nice.
So, burn it, you burn it, and you have to keep it inside a pot, or you have to keep the ashes inside a cloth, and you have to throw it in a very secret place without looking in that direction. Like you have to face opposite, and you have to throw that thing like this, and you don't have to look back for some time. You have to walk away from that place. Yes. And then one more ritual people do, like with lemon. They burn lemon. They cut it like 2 halves, and they burn it, and then they take that black ash and they put it on your palms, both palms, on your both feet, and on your
third
temple. Yes, here, yes. In between eyebrows. And after doing this, you have to throw that lemon secretly. I mean, nobody should be looking at it at that particular time of
when you throw it.
Yes, and you have to throw it facing opposite direction. You just have to throw it, and you have to walk away from that place. It's like, so Nazar Utarna can be done by using 3 kind of things. It's very common ritual. Like first one I told you, by using dry red chilies. Second one, lemon, and third one is like you can use camphor, and you just burn it inside diya, small metal bowl, and nothing is left, just black residue, so nothing left to throw. So after burning it, and while you're burning it, you have to rotate the same way, clockwise, anti-clockwise 3 times, and then you have to put that black residue, black ash on both palms and on third eye and both feet. And
on the bottom of the foot? Or
no,
the top?
Top of the foot. and it's like that all these negativity and evil eye was gone.
Nice.
Very clear on that. And all these things are done on full moon day. People wait for full moon day. You can people do it any day also, like if they're feeling like there's too much negativity around.
Yeah.
If you're feeling, so you can do this ritual after sunset, not before sunset, but especially people wait for full moon to do this.
You might remember Amandeep from episode 59. In that episode, I was in California interviewing him through Skype. Today, I sat down with him at his home in Faridabad, India, and we were able to speak face to face. Today we'll be discussing Sikhism, Tantra, Krishna, Osho, Luciferians, Satanism, Thelema, Golden Dawn, Nagas, crypto-humans, lizard people, the Aghori, and many other things. And so, without further ado, let's get to that interview, shall we? Greetings, Frater. Welcome to the Esoterinerd podcast.
Hi, hello.
Welcome
Edwards.
back.
Yes, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm doing fine as well. So,
Here we are in your home.
yeah,
Here
exactly.
in Faridabad.
Yeah, in Faridabad, NCR, near Delhi, in Haryana district. And as we were talking about your journey, it was quite long, and you went to South Africa, and you have been to Kathmandu, and you have been to different Buddhist places, Gompas, and now here you are in NCR.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but
Having
this
some
place
tea.
is
Oh no, I love it. It's
this
good.
place is a little. It's called gas chamber by our our politicians and our scientists as well, because since 2-3 months here people have been a little sick with their sinus problems just because of pollution and stuff like that.
I see. Yeah.
So we're trying to do yoga, and we're trying to create some kind of spirituality, and whatever whomsoever wants to join us in this polluted environment to freshen up a little bit and get a good health.
Oh, and there goes the electricity, but we still got batteries.
Okay.
Thank you for the tea. We got tea and cookies here.
Yep.
Oh, the electricity going on and off. It's good. Welcome to India.
Welcome to India.
So just to go over the stuff we were already talking about before we started recording, you were telling me about Mandali.
Yeah, there are beautiful places here which people can go for trekking and hiking and see ancient Indian native Himalayan culture, where people used to go for meditation and different kind of Tantra siddhis. And as I do not believe too much in, there are a lot of groups which are created in cities. So they are doing certain stuff. It is good, but the actual purity you will find in ancient and native places,
Right.
rural places. So even those people believe that there are certain people, not just groups. Groups know a lot, but there are few people who are actually like sages, and you gotta find those people.
Yeah.
And if you find one, then he'll give you certain tips and a lot of ancient things that he's got in his kitty.
Nice.
So Manali is a beautiful place, and Bhuntar is a beautiful place. The journey starts from Delhi, and then first comes Chandigarh. The from Chandigarh, you start climbing uphill to Shimla, and then different places comes. Then comes Mandi, and from Mandi you go to Bhuntar, and then comes Manali. So there are a lot of trekking places which you can start from Mandi itself. So there are places like Rawalsar Gurdwara. So it's a Sikh native place where Lord Guru Gobind Singh, he was a warrior saint in our culture. he went there and he gave blessing to certain, maybe I don't know the complete story, but it is said that there are I have seen myself that stones are floating on water. So this is a kind of blessing that he gave, and there is a lot of energy which you will feel. There is a very ancient Gompa as well there in Ravalsar, and after watching that Gompa, you can trek a little bit and you can search for a place called Durgapur, and that is the place where you will find certain Buddhist people or Tibetan people that you would not be able to talk to in their language, and in their sign language, if you can make them understand, you will find certain caves where people are doing their chants and worship, and only few people know their timings, when they come, when they go, where they go. And I was small at that age, and there was a young lady from UK, I believe, and that bold Gompa lady from Tibet, she was not understanding us, we were not understanding them, but she, with her sign language, told us that there's a lady who comes here and practices her ancient chants and stuff like that. So we visited that cave. We didn't disturb her, and we did our chants over there in our mind, and we said our prayers, and then we came back. We clicked certain pictures there. So it is my wish that I want to go back there and do some trekking, and then go to that place called Durgapur, where I can find certain ancient history and people like that. In Ravalsar, in Mandi, first is Ravalsar, Gurudwara, and Gompa that you can see. Durgapur is another place, and then you can go to a place called Kamru Nag. Kamru Nag is a place, it belongs to the ancient history of Mahabharata. There was an ancient warrior called Babru Nag, or Kamru Nag as they say. He worshipped there, and Lord Krishna, I believe, gave him certain kind of powers or blessings. He was not allowed to fight in Mahabharata because Lord Krishna knew that if he fought, then definitely he's a fierce warrior, then Pandavas are gonna lose this war. So he gave him blessing, and he gave him certain a specific place where people in coming future, they are gonna worship you. And he sat there, he did worship, but he forgot about the war. So that was a little trick by Lord Krishna.
He was tricky.
Yeah.
From what I hear.
And also, there's a river, Kamru Nag River. And it is said that women come there for blessing for children, people come there for blessing of their growing career, wealth and stuff like that. And since ages, people have been throwing their gold chains and their rings. So there is a wealth of millions inside that river.
Wow.
But nobody touches that because there are a lot of snakes, Naga, in those rivers. So you can have
thank you.
little cookies.
I learned about the Naga house, the little house for the snakes that in Bhutan they were building them. I think they have them elsewhere too. Like there'll be a small structure in the backyard for the snakes, and it's sacred. And a friend of mine, when he was young, when he was 4 years old, he peed on one. And then he got really sick, and they had to have a holy man come and bless him and kind of do an exorcism and appease the snakes and make them stop cursing him. It's very interesting.
So, nowadays there are theories coming, conspiracy theories about reptilians.
Oh, yeah.
Or meta-humans, or, crypto-humans. The people who change forms or stuff like that. So Naga, here in India, it is said that a snake, there are a form of snake, there are a lot of forms of snake, cobra is different, black mamba is different, there are a lot of species in snake, but there is a kind of snake, which lives in depth inside Earth, which can change forms, and that is crypto-human, and they are hypnotical in nature. They have certain energies, certain powers, but they generally do not harm humans. But it is said if you enter and challenge them in their territory without any reason, like that boy unknowingly peed,
Right.
so they can curse people, and it can go for generations.
Wow.
It is said here, and also, as it has been a popular belief in many places, that Naga have been protector of lot of ancient treasures. And ancient, as you can see, there have been a lot of treasures found in Egypt itself, in Africa, and they have symbols of Naga there. Might be they found certain real creatures over there as well.
Yeah.
And in the same way, in India, there are symbols of Naga, and it was said that even Krishna, Lord Krishna, was trying to get one money. It is called a money. I don't know whether it's a kind of tissue here in certain form of Naga, which is required for certain ritual, or either it is a kind of diamond. I believe it's a kind of tissue which might look like some kind of sparkling thing. And there are many things which are used, animal things which are used, nails and stuff like that, which are used in Tantra rituals. In some ancient stories, it is also said that Krishna was killed by Naga trying to attain that one thing for his ritual.
I've seen him depicted atop like a seven-headed cobra.
Yeah. So it was. It is a popular story there that Mathura Vrindavan, that town, was threatened by an ancient creature at that early time, and it was called Kaliya. And Kaliya was a Nag, but that was a beastly snake, and a snake with more than one heads. It is a special name in India. It is called Sheshanag. The king of all the Nagas. And it represents our Kundalini as well. But there might be some kind of ancient creatures, like nowadays they talk about some conspiracy theories about Jersey Devil and certain theories about Chupacabra, and might be in some ancient times there was an ancient Naga, water animal, some kind of water animal that used to live inside, and it used to eat people and stuff like that. So Lord Krishna danced on his forehead and show him that he's actually the Lord of Universe, and snubbed his devilish energies back to the underground.
Interesting.
And it is said that these ancient gods have locked many ancient things inside the depth of the core of this earth. Once the apocalypse comes, then these beastly energies will come, these beings would be uncontrolled. And, at that one time, if it happens, if it is a reality, then people would see that it was not something supernatural. It was something which was hidden inside, and they were some kind of beings like us with flesh and blood and stuff, something like that.
Wow.
There was just their way of telling their story.
Yeah.
Might be.
I thought it was interesting because in the Golden Dawn tradition, in the Vault of the Adepti, they've got underneath the floor, symbolically, they paint it on the floor, but it's symbolically underneath the floor of the vault. The adept stands on the rose, showing dominion through Yeshua over these forces, but there's a seven-headed serpent underneath the vault, Leviathan. And so when I saw Krishna dancing on the seven-headed serpent, that was what came to mind, was was that, and from what you've told me, the symbolism is very similar because Krishna, Christ, Krishna, like George Harrison pointed out when he was being accused of devil worship or something when he started chanting Hare Krishna in Beatles songs. He was saying it's the same as chanting Christ, Christ. You know, it's there's no difference. But yeah, to show that dominion as the Lord of the universe, hidden in human form. To subdue that monstrous energy and make it go back underground. That's exactly in alignment with the vault symbolism. It's very interesting.
Exactly. And you see, I believe, have you seen a very interesting movie, Doctor Strange?
Oh, yeah. He came to Kathmandu. I kind of had that. There were a few people that had that in mind. You know, when I came to Kathmandu, they said, "Oh, you're going to find the that special temple."
Kamatai. And there was a very interesting point made over there that the dark people, the people who worshipped dark, actually they were not into balance. Like light is also there, dark is also there. So they are neutral. They were not neutral, they were worshipping dark. And in that dominion, there was no time. It was beyond time. So the similar kind of thing I have read in Egyptian mythology, that the first beings were the beings of chaos. And it was not, when the first being came, you have seen Set, God Set. It is a dark god. Though it's a dark god, but it's killing a serpent.
Oh, yeah.
It's saving Lord Ra or the sun. So it's balance of energies to fight with the dark. Only the dark poison cuts the poison. Only dark is required.
Interesting.
So those were the first beings, the chaotic beings, which is called, they don't even say their name, it is called Apep.
Oh, right.
Or Apophis.
Ignorance, right?
Yeah. Maybe ignorance, or maybe I believe, what if from nothingness, as even in India it is said Shiva in essence is nothingness. It's just dead, it's nothingness. From Shiva suddenly something happens, came first energy, Shakti. In the same way, from Nu comes the, from potential energy, and from nothingness suddenly something comes out. It's Amon.
Okay.
It's hidden energy. Again from Shiva, which is nothingness, comes a moving energy, which is Shakti, which is lady goddess, and which is always with Shiva. So Shiva and Shakti, all this is dance of Shiva and Shakti. From the Shiva and Shakti, they then manifested into bodily form. Something happens, they created something out of themselves, or cosmos just created certain beings. Before them, it is said, they were, when Brahma was creating or Shiva was creating in meditation, they created everything like this or like this in meditation. By just thinking, the universe is creating. In the same way, when we close our eyes, we see a hell lot of things. Maybe a lot of dark aspects many times, and a lot of times we feel blissful as well. And it is not always blissful. So meditation, as said by Lord Osho, it is said it's a work of a little rebellion. And those people who are not afraid to be destroyed completely, it is required, This self destroys, and then you start seeing the reality. And it's a very slow process and painful process. So that's how it is. So in the same way, from Shiva, moving energy, Shakti gets created. Shakti literally means power, energy. And maybe they came into bodily form, or certain beings got created. Even in our books, it is said that there were beings out of reach of all the gods and all, heavenly beings. They were not able to control all those beings. Those were the beings, the first beings which came out, like black hole. It sucks everything inside, but there is a ray which
Gamma ray.
gamma ray
Yeah.
which shoots upwards and downwards as well.
Yeah.
So kind of byproduct. Universe gets created, but universe doesn't have any desire. First of all, will gets created, and will doesn't have any path. So will can either move light ways, positive ways, or the dark ways. So might be the will got both ways. And it
Matter
created
and antimatter.
yeah, it created both of things.
Yeah.
And beings of chaos, they were out of reach of the heavenly bodies and heavenly gods and stuff like that. They were not able to control them. So Lord Shiva and along with Vishnu, they fought for thousands of years with these demons, and they managed to send them into another realm, which is their particular realm. And the beings which were beyond time, same concept. There are certain beings like Dormammu, which is shown in the dark realm of Doctor Strange. That Dormammu controls the dark power, and Dormammu is beyond time. And in our realm, we are mortals, we have lives. We were children, we are now young, we will become old and we will die. So that's a cycle. So in those beings like Tiamat, there's a goddess Tiamat in Sumerian culture, and Enki is there. So before that, Marduk or Tiamat and stuff like that, they were shown as dragons, kind of heavenly serpents, which were not under control, and only our lower self, that means Set, is able to fight with them. Otherwise, if you do not have any desire, then people will, dark energy comes and start punching your nose, and you are sitting in meditation. You don't even bother.
Yeah.
Because you are peaceful.
Yeah.
But in material life, even gods fought. So they had to maintain a kind of balance. So the Satan energy rises up, and then the darkness, poison cuts the poison. With poison, you have to cut the poison. This is, vicious cycle, necessary evil, something like that.
Yeah. How interesting. I remember there was a point where Shiva drank up all the poison, and that was how his skin turned blue, something like that.
Yeah. And also, there are theories that not just his skin, his throat turned blue. So he's called Neelkantha. And behind their dark skin, it is, you can say, a spiritual belief or mythology. In the same way, the goddess of sky in Egypt, Nuit, it's shown as blue. So these are heavenly things. And their body's tone is little darker. It is said their body's tone was little darker. And because everything comes eternally from dark. At last, everything comes from nothingness, from dark, from hidden. So that is a belief behind that.
Yeah.
It might not be literal, but it is just a belief.
How interesting. Nice. My friend Piyu was telling me yesterday about how when someone says, "I desire to see God," that the thing that's stopping them
Is desire.
is I as separate from God, first of all, and the desire that putting it there as something that they don't have, and then and that even the Buddha was desiring this state of enlightenment, and it wasn't until he finally gave up and collapsed and said, there's nothing, that finally he woke up, and that was the enlightenment.
I just wanted to ask a question.
Yeah.
You have met a lot of people now. You must have met a lot of Luciferians and Satanists.
I've met a couple. Not too. I haven't gone too deep with any like self-proclaimed Satanists. They work with light and dark in the Gnostic Church in South Africa.
Yeah.
But I haven't met anyone who says I am a Satanist or I am a Luciferian. I've met a few online maybe, and I think I might have interviewed one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm interested when you're posting about Luciferian, because I don't know a lot about it. I know kind of the standard, what you hear among Christians and people, that Lucifer was an angel who became arrogant and thought he could rise up, above God, and as a result he transformed into Satan and was cast out of heaven and lives in hell, blah blah blah. But it seems like when you're talking about Luciferian, it's a little different. It's like a little bit off to the side of that. How would you define Luciferian?
I believe if you talk about Indian mythology, if you talk about Greek mythology, these ancient mythologies, if we even talk about British witchcraft, Irish culture, Scottish culture, Viking culture, their theories are well defined. I mean, there is no suspicion in anything. They have their gods, they have their duties, they have their names, and they have their stories. And they were like that. They were folk, the first songs. And there is no confusion in that. Even in Indian mythology, even in British witchcraft or African culture. But I have seen this satanic agenda very, very, very confusing.
Yeah, there's several. There's like more than one. There's atheist Satanists, there's religious Satanists, there's people that go out and invoke Satan, and then there's people that just use the name to scare Christians. So it's like there's 4 or 5 different kinds of Satanists, it seems.
Yeah. So, I have been documenting certain things in my book, in my, online documents that I save. All my experiences that I have felt in meditation. All my experiences that I have felt in rituals. And I, without any hesitation, delete and discard which is unreal. I do not think that anybody has got, very few people would have been able to do that. I feel that there would have been certain cults that who knew necrominion, the actual necrominion, or to invoke Nosferatu, the nocturnal creatures, or the vampirismo or stuff like that.
Yeah.
There might have been devilish cults. If I translate that in Indian, Shiva is called King of Ghosts. Why? Because he is light and he is dark. He controls all the ghostly and goblins and every he's the king of all ghosts. And there is one form of Shiva which is called Pretraj. Pretraj literally means, Pret means Nosferatu itself. Pret is Pishach. That means, Pishach means who is a vampire and can feed on energies of others. And in one form, Shiva is called Nataraj, which means he is god of dance. In one form, he is called Aghora.
The Aghori.
In that form, he has done wrestling. He has done, wildest of rituals of Aghora sect. So in one form, Shiva himself is king of ghosts. So if you talk about that kind of devil worship, that comes in Indian practice too, but it is not forbidden.
Right.
It is said that you need to have some master and good knowledge in order to master those things, because those are the beings of chaos, and if they overpower you, might be a case that people get mentally disturbed or some kind of problem starts occurring. So you don't want that. I don't believe that someday if I woke up in the morning and start doing devilish rituals, then suddenly the devil will obey my orders and he will come and see me and say hi.
Right.
I feel that I have felt subtle currents of energies. I have felt the chi. I have felt in my dreams, recurring dreams, and in the recurring dreams, you can feel that these things are trying to contact you in astral realm. I still do not, I don't say that I have seen things like these in real, the spirit animals, but I have felt certain things like clues in reality. I have felt their energy, that I have got a dream and certain thing has happened to me in office, live. I have seen that. So I have got certain guidance. I have seen spirit animal in my dream. I only see water creatures, octopus and deep water whale, these kind of things, or snake as well, but I see the things going deep in the water, somewhere like this. And even sometimes I used to, in childhood, I used to wake up in the morning and wake up in midnight, and I used to be doing like this, like fish is trying to go deep inside. So I have felt this. So no wrong claims if we want to attain real enlightenment and real thing. I'm very much interested in beings of chaos, in the demonic rituals as well, but I don't feel that any self-claimed Satanists would be able to just invoke Satan in them and
and get rich.
Yeah. It's not that easy.
Come be a Satanist and get rich and famous.
Yeah. It's all conspiracy theory, and you have felt yourself that it's a life, it's a way of life, lifelong process. Taoists, Buddhists have been doing their chi practices since ages, and even their aim is the same.
Yeah.
So why don't they just stop? Because they are in the path. At least the path is correct. That is very good. But I don't feel that there must have been certain satanic or devilish cults. Satan, I think, is a wrong name. Christian people, Hebrew people,
right,
have given, because it's their language.
Yeah.
Satan means enemy. So they might have given the devilish cultures or the tribes, the Canaanite tribes, or any tribes who have been worshipping these. They've given it an umbrella term, Satan.
Yeah.
So I believe it's an umbrella term. There might have been certain cults, very ancient cults, who have been doing real demonic practices, and you gotta find those. I don't feel that if somebody, Anton Sender Levy, his theory is beautiful. Otherwise, that he's not worshipping any real Satan. At least he is true in that. He is not claiming Satan to be a real deity.
Right.
It's an umbrella term. The same term has been used for a lot of other beings.
And a lot of Christians will use it for everything Hindu, everything Buddhist, everything African. Just all goes under the same umbrella. If it isn't Jesus, it's Satan. Yeah. So some people have a very big Satan umbrella.
Yeah. So I feel there might have been certain cultures who have been practicing, especially in Gulf and in Africa and in Sumeria. Sumeria is Iran, modern day Iran or Iraq, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, the Mesopotamia between
Mesopotamia,
the two rivers.
yeah. So they might have certain cultures which have been doing real practices, but self-proclaimed Satanists, and there are many cults like that.
Yeah.
The very format of rituals, if you see them in their culture,
Golden Dawn derivative.
Yeah. So the rituals are okay. They can be okay, and with chants and with the template of ritual, the syntax of ritual, it's the same everywhere. So if they talk about ritual part, I'm okay with that. If they talk about we worship demonic beings, but they don't give it Christian names,
right,
then I start believing them. The names are actually different, and we might not even know them, the beings of chaos. And if we talk about Transcender Levi, he's at least clear about the idea that he's worshipping void, he's worshipping self. There's no God. I'm okay with that theory. In his 10 or 9 satanic principles, he's mentioned that we got to honor the power of self and witchcraft. Otherwise, if you do not honor it, the same energy will destroy you. I'm okay with that. That's good. But there are a lot of Brotherhood of Satan and stuff like that, a lot of satanic cults. Even, I believe, you're from US?
Yeah, we've got one that's kind of gaining popularity, and they do a lot of protests and things like that seem good. I mean, for example, there was I don't know all the details, but there was a state that was defending their right to have religious things in front of the courthouse. They want to have the 10 Commandments from the Bible or something like that. So they put a big statue of Baphomet and said, hey, it's our religious freedom. So that seems playful. I mean, it seems trickstery a little bit. Kind of like, okay, you want that? Well, then that means we have this right too.
Yeah. So nowadays, I believe the real ancient demonic cults, I believe in those, but I haven't met even one. One of my brothers is into astrology. He's in Canada. He's on Google with the name of Tantra Psychic Nath. And he is on the seat of, there's 9 goddesses, just like in Shiva cult, there are 9 Naths. We call them Naths. Naths means lords of the universe. And all of them had appearance like Shiva or Aghora and stuff like that.
Weren't there 9 in the Lord of the Rings? There were the 9. What were they called? The Dark Horsemen that used to be human. I wonder if he got it from there.
Yeah. So 9 Naths are there. From their family, many hundreds of Nath came. So there was one Nath. He was child. So his name was Baba Balaknath. Balak means child. Child Nath. And he was very powerful. His place is also in Himachal. His actual place. And they're said to be of Shiva family. They're said to be of same... their culture is of little ancestral worship. They call ancestors. The concept is they make their body vessel and they invite all the energies inside. So they have certain siddhis. Siddhis means perfection. They have certain siddhis in hand that they can call 10 different beings inside self for different work, and they give them answers. Nath. And he's taken training from Nath cult, one of my brothers. So he is on Google with the name of Tantra Psychic Nath. So he has done some chanting and some ritual, actual Tantra stuff. My work is folk Indian stuff. It's not actually Tantra. Google. Yeah, my wife is getting restless that she wants to see pictures. Okay, Gugu, karda send me. Now, we have talked about satanic agenda. Regarding his Transcender Levi, his theory, I'm okay with. But many other cults are there, apart from Transcender Levi. I don't believe that they are able to call the demonic energies, because I have seen in our culture, even angelic energy, if somebody claims that angelic energy comes into their body, after that their body feels a little weaker for 2 or 3 days. And what if the demonic energy, the energy who is there itself to consume your energy,
right?
What if that energy comes?
Yeah.
And why would a rebellion obey my orders?
Yeah.
I'm still in process.
Yeah.
Of meditating.
Yeah.
And it's not like that if I call Satan and then Satan comes and lightning comes from the
Yeah,
sky
yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. Regarding the Luciferian agenda, I met two groups, and I'm added in their Facebook group as well. There's a lady called Aisha Inanna, and Megas Cygnus is one of the person. Their Luciferian agenda is very clear, and I believe that. Why? It's Lucifer. First of all, Satan means enemy. It's a Hebrew word. Lucifer is Greco-Roman Latin word. How did it find its place in...
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
That sounds like a Christian thing.
Yeah.
To mix Greek with Hebrew.
So maybe the Roman kings, there's an interesting concept that when Bible and stuff like that was in the times of slavery or in Africa, when this thing was imposed by the imperialist parties over African people, if you are a being of Krishna, then once you are a being of Krishna, you start worshipping your Lord. You choose, your soul chooses your Lord, your ancestors. Then you are eternally his. Yeah. In the same way, if the Africans are worshipping Orishas and Papa Legba, their soul belongs to them eternally. Even if somebody imposes them, slashes them or whatever, at the back end in their mind, they would create something just like, an addict. If, we find an addict that there's a relapse of injections, his mind will become so much tricky that he will know how to hide. We would not even know about his relapse the second time. In the same way, Bible is being imposed on African culture, but they have created certain way. They have mixed the Bible saints and Bible chants, psalms with voodoo. They have fused.
Yeah.
They have done their fusion. They have
I've
done
seen
their
that in the Americans.
yeah. New Orleans voodoo.
Right.
And
in Brazil and
Yeah.
Haiti even. Yeah.
So in the same way, when Roman kings, they had their, they had their meetings or whatever, with the Jews and ancient Hebrews. Maybe Bible was spreading, and even then, the actual Greco-Roman gods people were still worshipping. Maybe then the names collide and the cultures fuse. At the back end, people are still worshipping Greco-Roman gods,
Right.
and in which, in one line, I believe, whether it's in Bible or it's written in some different book, that the Yeshua itself is Lucifer. Lucifer means light bearer. So light bearer is here. This is a place of soul. Soul gives us light. Once you take away this from my body is going to fall. It's dead. Because the soul is there. It's gone. It's an energy. It's light. The light bearer, the fallen one. Who is the fallen one? Who came to this earth to populate it?
Right.
Soul itself. We are the fallen ones.
Yeah.
So their theory is beautiful, and that's what I believe. That's what they think, that according to their theory, their studies, Greco-Roman people were still worshipping their original gods, and even Vatican have the Knights Templar, they went on their expeditions and wars on different tribes and stuff like that. Few people got awakened that is it a will of God for us to do like this,
Right.
to kill people?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And then they started in the looting and plundering of different cultures. They found certain scriptures. Might be few people started studying it, and they found something very helpful. This is very peaceful, and these medicines And these rituals, they're actually very powerful. Those affirmations, even in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming nowadays, they're using the same old witchcraft affirmations and stuff like that. Same kind of affirmations that, as I will it, it shall be done. So this is a strong affirmation.
Yeah.
You know, it changes the persona completely.
Yeah.
They use that in NLP as well. So in NLP, they're using chaos magic itself. So their theory, I believe, Luciferians are real, and their motto, I believe, is to teach everyone that go back to thy own ancestors and you will learn. It's as simple as that. Path may be long, may be difficult, but if the path is correct, then nobody can take away anything from us.
Yeah.
I believe so. That is why I won't call myself Luciferian, but yeah, in my chants I use Num, Ankh, Amun, Amun, Ra, Atum, Ra, Patah, Ra, Khepra, Ra, Dua, Ba, Neb, Jedet, Awe, Lucifer. So I do pray like this. So it's a, these Kemetic words are very powerful. Lucifer is light. It's the fallen one. In its manifested form, it's the fallen light, fallen one as a soul. But in its unmanifested form, it's the same void. It's the same ever-present energy. It's the same source from which everything came. But at least they're not attaching any preconceived notions to that Luciferian energy.
Yeah.
That's what I like about them. So I feel Luciferians are still better than Satanists.
Yeah. So Lucifer then would have been one of the first things to be put under the Satan umbrella when Christianity was spreading into Greece. To say it was competition. So that, someone comes along and says, "Oh no, I'm not into that. I worship Lucifer." They say, "Oh well, you worship Satan."
Yeah.
And just kind of lump them together.
Exactly.
Yeah. Huh.
And also there are proofs in Bible itself. I believe there was some king in Babylon or in Mesopotamian region about which I don't know what's the story, but it's said about them, "Why hath thee fallen from the skies, O Lucifer?" Something like that. He might have done some wrong deed. He must have drifted away from his path for some time. But he was a good king otherwise. Yeah. And there were many Assyrian, Babylonian or other kings which in Bible, according to Bible, their Bible is not all rubbish. There are most ancient clues, I believe, that you can find in Bible. Most ancient cults, Canaanites, Nephilims. Nephilims is a big clue.
Yeah.
And Nephilims again point towards the Kemetic culture, and they have talked about pre-Adamic races. So what were the pre-Adamic races? It's again the Sumerian story. They said that they created, Enki came here. He found his first temple of snake or something like that.
Enki was the ancient Capricorn, right?
Yeah.
The goat with he had one horn in Sumer and another horn in, I forget.
Egypt or...
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So it is said that Enki created his first temple and started teaching humans. But he was non-human. He was maybe our creator, maybe creator of those races maybe. Because we cannot say anything with complete surety that Enki is everything and he has created all mankind. Maybe he created those races. Maybe all these people were from different areas and assigned different tasks on different sides of earth. But the stories are a little bit similar and somewhat different at some point. But the essence is the same. Enki created a temple, he created human, but that human was feeling a little lonely. Then from his rib, that means maybe his DNA from the rib, or some kind of liquid that they take out. From that they have created a woman, so that he can be pleased. They can form a family and enjoy themselves. Yeah. Then the population started. It still sounds a little believable. That some kind of scientist came here and he tried to create some beings, and might be we are descendants of the same. As in India it is said that directly or indirectly we are descendants of the bloodline of Shiva. And since our features are little sharp, we are mix of, I believe, Sumerian and Aryan culture. A lot of people came here in India. A lot of people came here. A lot of different meetings might have happened, and races collide. But we are Aryan race, I believe. And it is said the pure Indian race is beyond Maharashtra, beyond Mumbai. Their language, even Maharashtrian language that they speak, is little bit of Sanskrit. And their color, their features, it's more indigenous. And here you see Muslims, if you shave their beard, then they are just like people from America. They're blue eyes or gray eyes, and features are almost the same. And if you mix their breeds, then either becomes little bit Asian or features like this, little bit brown, little bit white, something like that. So it might be a long story, but the essence of different stories, I believe it's the same.
Yeah.
The groups that I was talking about, the Luciferians, their theory about Greco-Roman stuff, it even goes to the Kemetic and Sumerian part. They also believe in Tiamat, and they don't categorize them as demonic beings, but they say we are the balance. We got created from the same eternal source. So just like in our culture, we worship Pretraj, that means demonic form of Shiva. As well, Kal Bhairav is another form of Shiva, which is more demonic. And the pure form for us, people like us, family people, and who just want to meditate and do not want to get into
all that
wild rituals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That is Shiva. That is Rudra. So their theories are almost the same. That Sumerians, they don't even differentiate in dark and light. They say that these are also to be worshipped and these are also to be worshipped. So that is Luciferian theory. And they are promoting this, that you should go back to thy own culture. Listen to the calling of thy own ancestors, and they will not let you go astray.
Interesting.
That is a good theory.
Yeah, my friend Kay down in Africa gave me a book on Nordic, a very thorough, thick book on Nordic mythology and magic.
I have left certain groups. I talk to certain people. I talk to people of chaos magic as well. And I believe in those groups, those people were not that much tolerant, and they start certain fights and blaming each other, stuff like that. So I deleted those groups, but I found these Luciferian people very intellectual people. I mean, they would like to go into depth in order to believe it, and they would believe the reality. I mean, the historical part.
Yeah.
Even if it is mythology, then it has to be historic, and it has to have some proofs, and then you can believe it. No, and even if the things working for you, even then it's good, But it should not be based upon assumptions or then I'm gonna do this kind of sign and light black candle, and then Satan is gonna come.
Right, yeah. Oh yeah, I remember what I was being reminded of. I was at one point drawn to study and look into the Akkadians, AKA Akkadian, I don't know.
Okay.
They, I guess, because Sumer was, of course, in Mesopotamia pre-Babylon, and they had these city blocks, they had a postal service, they had all these things that we associate with a modern city.
Okay.
And then the Akkadians took over, and for 140 years, I think it was, there were Akkadian kings, and they turned Sumer into an imperialist entity. So Sumer, prior to that, like they had their skirmishes and their battles with their neighbors, but the Akkadians were the ones that said, hey, we've got this superior civilization, we've got this army, why don't we go conquer the neighbors over there, enslave them, make them pay us taxes, take everything of value and bring them to, Sumer, or what they would have, they probably called it something else at that time. And then so there were a bunch of these kings, and it seems like the earliest example of an imperialist entity in history. And then after 140 years, they were overcome by these people that were living in the Caucasus Mountains, I believe, and they had blonde hair, I guess. They were described that way. And they would come in and disrupt things. They would come to a marketplace and attack and harass people, and then before the army could get there, they'd leave and they'd go to a different part of the city and do it there, and they just kept doing that until people started staying home, the economy wasn't doing well, and then there was a drought and a big heat wave. And I had this experience on psychedelics where I felt like either I was entering into the mind of the last Akkadian king, or maybe I was the last Akkadian king, and having the experience of basically at that time, one of the things that they were bringing in from all these neighboring kingdoms was their drugs. And so this king had access to all the best drugs that were around in humanity back then, from Egypt, from far distant lands, from Persia. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I mean, the experience I had was that he was so high that he didn't know what was going on, and the drought was getting worse, and the heat wave was getting worse. And one day he woke up. One day he was calling for his servants, and they didn't come because they were gone, and he was by himself. And so I mean, it's interesting. Like, I don't know why I brought that up. It just something made me think of that. Like as far as some kind of evil presence or something entering in, like they had. Or even just the potential of civilization, or the potential even of a person who's done enough work that they have certain siddhis, maybe. They have certain powers, they have certain wisdoms, they can read people's minds, they have these powers, but they don't have the wisdom to restrain themselves. So they use it to manipulate others, and they use it to control others, and to try to create to boost themselves up and become more and more powerful and more wealthy, until one day they topple over like the Tower of Babel. That's like just the natural outcome of abusing power. Okay. Something like that. I don't know why all that came to mind. It just you were talking about Sumer.
Yeah. So there's one interesting theory. There's a person who just called me up from Facebook. He's an Indian guy from Canada. He's been talking about a person called Edgar Casey. Yeah, and his theories, his magical theories about Egypt and how he
Atlantis.
Yeah, Atlantis and stuff like that. And all many of them, when the scientists tried to search, they found all these things at the exact place and stuff like that.
Interesting.
And there are theories that in Islam it is said in their holy book that King Solomon, he had certain tools and different tools, or say if Edward is a saint, an enlightened person, he has given me this matchbox as a gift, and then this contains some energy, it's a kind of blessing. I receive it, I take it. He has been he has received certain tools and gifts from many saints, ancient saints of his culture, and all those things were kept in a bucket, and that is why he was so wealthy and so powerful. And there are theories like if some politician, or if India or America or Russia or any country would have that kind of tools and buckets,
it
and
makes me think of Hitler trying to get the spear that, all these different things.
Exactly. Did he really got so much mad about occult stuff? Because I believe he was into some skulls.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to tell, what's conjecture and what's fact, but it seems like he was after these things, like he was in Egypt and all these places looking for the whole Indiana Jones scenario, like fighting the Nazis, trying to get them first.
Yeah. And what do you think about Sir Aleister Crowley?
He's an interesting character.
He is.
Yeah.
And what about his Thelema and theory of, all his theory is related to Babylon and Egypt.
Yeah. Well, the way that when I've talked to Thelemites about that, they distinguish between, and it's an odd thing because there's the Lady of the Night of Babylon, which seems to be based on the ancient goddess Ishtar in the New Testament, specifically in the Book of Revelation, and the vision that John is having, where she is. She gets drunk on, or the beast gets drunk on the blood of Christ and then destroys the woman of Babylon. They use an impolite term, of course. I don't like to, but then when they in Thelema, when they talk about Babylon, it's Babalon, not Babylon.
Oh, okay.
And so she's this woman that's not related to that other woman, but yet they seem to be. And in the Strength card, which they rename the Lust card, there's the woman that's riding the beast rather than the woman who's taming the beast. And I believe she's called Babylon. My training was in traditional Golden Dawn, of course, which was what Crowley studied, and then what he went on to change and turn into Thelema. And so
originally that was Golden Dawn,
right?
Okay.
And so in certain traditional Golden Dawn groups, they make a point to differentiate that. This is traditional Golden Dawn, not Thelema. They're two totally different things, and some of them will even put Thelema under the Satan umbrella. Especially since Crowley at one point called himself the Great Beast 666, which of course is a reference to the Book of Revelation and the Beast and all this stuff. And they say that his mother called him the Great Beast 666 when he was a little boy, and so that was kind of where that came from. And he seems like another one, a little bit like LaVey, who was using these things to kind of poke, to make people nervous and because he knew that it would make people uncomfortable and that kind of thing. But it seems like incrementally, starting when he was 19, like he would take one little step until he was like really far in that direction, like shaving his teeth so that they were pointy and sex magic with animals and weird things like that.
Sex magic with animals?
That's what might been my understanding. I mean, if there's Thelemites out there that are hearing this saying no, please feel free to write to me. My email address is vh.frater.bt@gmail.com and let me know where I'm going wrong here. Because again, my background is I was surrounded by a lot of people who, when you Google Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, you Google Golden Dawn, a lot of the stuff that comes up is Crowley related. And so that's like if a Jewish person, every time they wanted to look up Judaism, was getting Christianity, and it says, so it's like frustrating. So they want to say, no, this is Judaism, not Christianity. So similarly, you have traditional Golden Dawn people saying, no, I'm traditional Golden Dawn. I work with Yeshua. I do the original rituals that Crowley learned, and then he went on and perverted and changed and did all this other stuff. And so I mean, not everybody, but a lot of the people I was surrounded with were Crowley phobic, or they were were anti-Crowley. They would say, we don't like Crowley. Here's what's wrong with him. And if they were reading Crowley, they were doing it sort of like a Jesuit reading some kind of pagan manuscript to find out what's wrong with it, so that they can prove Christianity is right. A traditional Golden Dawn person would read a Crowley book in order to find out what's wrong with Crowley, so that they can more articulately explain why traditional Golden Dawn is better. Okay. So that unfortunately, for better or worse, is my background. I'm right at the... Oh, what's it doing? It's still recording? That's crazy.
Might be it just went off recently.
Yeah, and then it just jumped back in. Well, I might be right at the beginning of a relationship.
A place that we recently visited, me and my wife. It's in Himachal, again in Himalayas. It's called Sadhupul. This is a river valley, and by the sides there are camping sites where people can, have fun, have beer, meditate or whatever.
Nice.
And from there, a trek goes. She's my wife. We just went there and we're having fun over there. It's a beautiful river valley, and different restaurants are there. People have opened their business. So, I have their number as well. If you wish, you can go there.
Cool.
Propose a business plan, whatever. That's a dirty doggy. And this is a way to trek above the hills. And this is the highest mountain where you can see Shimla, the lower hills, Shimla, Kufri. This is temple of goddess Kali. And from where you can see from where we came and stuff like that. There is a place called Sadhupul and Ma Kali Tibba. Kali Tibba. These are the kind of places that you can visit later on.
Yeah.
And
that sounds great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
in June and July, I believe we're trying to take leaves from office. It's a new project in our office, and so we're not allowed to take leaves. But in June and July, we can. So we're trying to go to Lahore Spiti. Me and my wife. So we'll tell you if you would be free, you can come.
Nice. I'm planning to meet with Piyu in Rishikesh in June.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Rishikesh is a place from where you can go for a trek of Flower Valley. It's up hills, and it's a beautiful flower valley. And there are some poisonous flowers as well, which you got to stay away from, but you can click beautiful pictures. And even above hills, in snow, higher hills, you would find a place where our religious guru, Sikh guru, Guru Gobind Singh, he meditated for approximately many 10 to 15 years. And besides him, there was one character from Ramayana, brother of Lord Rama. He meditated, Lakshman. So that's a very holy place. You can visit Hemkund Sahib.
Wow.
That's a beautiful place. It's above hills from Rishikesh.
Cool. Sounds great.
Yeah. So we were talking about nowadays
Shiva, Crowley, Yeshua.
Yeah.
The Aghori. People always ask me about the Aghori. It seems like a lot of people are interested in the Aghori.
Yeah. I feel this is human psychology. Why people are interested in Satanism, something cool about it, or it's really messed up religion. And there are various ideas, but still people are interested in Satanism.
Yeah.
I believe it's the unknown which is dark.
Yeah.
And the unknown which we fear, the fear of unknown. And the unknown that we are interested in.
Yeah.
That's why we are willing to come closer to a girl because she's unknown till the time we know her.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it takes a certain kind of person to not get bored and drift away at that point.
Yeah.
That it's easy to fall in love, but what about 10 years later?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like what?
Even
the thing that makes you stay has got to be a little different than the things that makes you start.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we were talking about Crowley.
Yeah.
That is over. Now, I believe we're going to talk about. There are a lot of black communities. Now, as I told you, that Luciferian communities and a lot of other communities, they're going back to ancestors. Which is okay, which is good. But sometimes that starts in another type of racism.
Yeah.
A different type of racism. Now, I found many black communities saying that Yeshua didn't exist at all. So what is your call about the same?
I found that not just in black communities. There's a lot of kind of conspiracy, embracing, intellectual atheist type people who say that Jesus was invented by the Roman aristocracy to keep people in line. And it was an attempt at, because they were having such a hard time, because they would go into an area and they would take over and say, yeah, but we're benevolent dictators, and you can still practice your religion, just pay us your taxes. But then they went down into Palestine, and the people there had such strong religious conviction. They had these stories about not bowing before the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, and these prior established precedents at how they deal with an occupying force that's an imperialist entity from abroad, usually Babylon, Egypt too. And so the Romans were having a real hard time dealing with the people who were the Hebrews, the people who had the Tanakh and everything. And so
might be there were people in power at that point of time.
Yeah. So the people in power in Rome, they say, around 100 something, started to invent this character Jesus. And some of the arguments in favor of this theory is that Josephus, or however you pronounce it, he was kind of the big historian of the period, and he never mentioned him. And if there was really this revolutionary movement where there was this guy who people thought was the Messiah, who some people were saying should be rightful king, and who was resurrected, and people saw rise from the dead, and then people are speaking in tongues, then shouldn't the main historian of Palestine at that time have mentioned him once, at least in passing? And so, that's kind of interesting, So it seems like the scriptures that Christianity is based on were all written at least 100 years after they say that Jesus was walking the earth. So, if nothing else, I think it's entirely probable, given what we know about human behavior, that it's exaggerated. If whatever happened was highly exaggerated before it was written down, because I know that my father tells me stories about his father, who died in 1946. And I know that some of them are a little off, and I have since done research and found out that certain things are untrue and certain things were exaggerated. And then he tells me the stories when I'm 5 years old, and then when I'm 12 years old, I'm repeating those stories, and I'm adding a little bit just to make it a little more, more impressive, more interesting, more extreme. So what happens after 130 years of that?
That's just human nature.
Yeah, exactly. So the stories that are passed down in the Gospels, which none of which were written while Jesus was walking around, it didn't, Luke and John weren't off in the corner writing down what just happened that day. This was stuff that John told to his descendant, to his students, and then someone else wrote down and called it the Gospel according to John. So I think that maybe it's extreme to say that there was no Yeshua. Maybe that's extreme, and I think it's equally extreme to say that everything that's written in the Gospels is true. For one thing, some of the Gospels contradict each other. And what are you referring to, Edward? Well, just that, did the cock crow 3 times or once? Hello. There's like little discrepancies between the Gospels. So, we can say, oh, well, they're close enough. So something very close to this happened, maybe. Yeah, okay. Then Luke was a Roman traveling companion to Paul, who never met Yeshua, and the Gospel according to Luke seems to include a lot of Roman mythology. The whole nativity scene and the 3 wise men seems to mirror the old astrological. The 3 stars on the belt of Orion rise before Sirius rises, and then the sun rises in Virgo, or after Virgo rises, then you get to see the sunrise. All that kind of stuff. What am I babbling about? I don't know. What was the question? Shit. Somewhere in between. I think that. I mean, and it seems like you were saying it was black communities that were saying that, but I've heard people talk about how Yeshua was made up by Roman aristocracy, but honestly, I haven't heard it from black communities. I mean, I've seen videos and things on Facebook where it seems like there's African Americans.
I also haven't met black communities, but it's just on internet.
Yeah, exactly. But I've met people in person who feel that way.
Okay. So,
but does it matter? Is the question. I mean, and I've talked to Jewish people who would say Moses wasn't real. Now that
Jewish
there's no
people. Okay.
that there's no evidence in any of the hieroglyphs, like wouldn't they have mentioned it? I mean, it's a little one way people explain is that period where Moses or Moshe overcame the Pharaoh and everything was such an embarrassment to the Egyptians that they didn't write it down or they destroyed all records of it. But then, come on, that's ridiculous. There should be at least a little bit of mentioning in the hieroglyphs on a wall somewhere in Egypt about all these things happening. So it seems like maybe it was allegorical, or again, maybe it was exaggerated. Maybe raining frogs. Hello, but I mean, I guess sometimes it rains frogs because there's tadpoles that grow in the clouds, or I don't know, something like. So someone explained why it would be raining frogs, or just a lot of wind, the wind blowing frogs up into the air and then they fall on the ground, or the Nile turning to blood. I mean. A lot of people have had a lot of time to come up with a lot of different theories about these 10 plagues, but yeah. So I've met Jewish people who say that Moses probably didn't walk the earth, and that it was all a story. And I mean, for one thing, he was supposed to have written the 5 books of Moses, but the 5 books of Moses talk about him dying. So how do you write a book about yourself dying? Like, hello. But yeah, so yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting. And I think that the Christianity and Judaism are kind of more recent religions, where you can look at something like Shiva or look at something like Krishna, or even Buddha is a little bit older than Jesus, and see something similar, like who wrote this down? Who said this was how it went? The difference to me is then the question is, well, what's the message? And then the message of Buddhism is something that actually really rings true to me, which is kind of where when people say, what's your religion? If I were to say anything at all, I'd often say Buddhist. And then and it's because it rings true that the more attached you are to temporal things, the more you're setting yourself up to suffer when those temporal things go away, and if you need something to make you happy that ultimately is subject to the forces of time, then it's not real happiness. It's not a lasting happiness. It's not peace. It's not a true inner peace. And then, looking into, like, for example, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talking to Arjuna, getting him to have a bigger, broader perspective, and to realize that I mean, it's one thing to come in and say, well, you should be detached, because then people can attack that and say, well, then you're going to behave this way, and that's just a way of blah blah blah. But to back up and look at life and death and look at the life and death of many, and then to look at the life and death of the earth, and you get to a certain place where in Mahayana Buddhism they talk about the kind of the real reality and then the subjective reality. That the subjective reality is the one in which compassion exists. And they value compassion as a very, very important thing. And Avalokiteshvara and Kuan Yin and all that embodies that compassion. That, yes, there are sentient beings that are suffering in this world of samsara. So have compassion and help them through skillful means, you know. Not where wisdom, on the other hand, has to do with the real reality, which is that nothing we do, say, or anything ultimately matters because of how small we are and how perfect everything already is. And so there's this paradox where one sounds like nihilism and one sounds like bleeding heart liberalism, and so it's somewhere on the axis between nihilism and bleeding heart liberalism. No, I'm joking, of course. That there's some way to reconcile this paradox where through meditation you can get to a place where you are at peace because you realize that ultimately everybody is going to arrive at their destination one way or the other, but
no matter how much sinner they are or whatever,
right? Whatever path they're taking, they're going to arrive. In Christianity, they say, "Whether through thy wrath or through thy love, all shall again re-enter." And actually, my old priest, Father Alexi, I asked him about heaven and hell. And, you know, the explanation he gave me, I was satisfied with. He said that God's love is like fire. And when we're in our bodies, we have the ability to close ourselves off from it, to shut it out. But then when we lose our bodies, we lose that ability. And so we're surrounded by this divine fire. And if we hold on, what I would say from a Buddhist point, or from a Vajrayana Buddhist point, to hold on to our sense of separate self. If we hold on to our being separate from God, or if we hold on to our ego, our pride, our arrogance, if we hold on to our desires, or what it is that separates us from everything else in the universe, then that divine fire love feels like burning fire that's trying to tear us away, that's destroying some aspect of us that we identify with as ourselves. And that's the fires of hell. It's like, oh, so the fires of heaven and the fires of hell are the same thing. It's just a matter of how you go into it, is how you experience it. It's very interesting.
Exactly.
I'm raving.
And in this Christian point of view, especially Bible and talking about if Jesus was real or not. If we talk about Hebrew Bible or the Torah, even in that Bible, I believe there are no clues of Satan in that.
Shatem, in the book of Job, Job was supposed to be perfect, and so Satan came to God and said, "Yeah, but I bet if you gave him a horrible disease, he'll renounce you. He'll curse your name." And so God says, "No, he won't. Watch." And then he gave Job a horrible disease. And Job kept praying, "God, thank you for my life." And then, so Satan said...
kind of test.
Yeah, so Satan said, "Yeah, but you think he's so perfect. What if you killed his family?" And God says, "Well, let's try it." And he kills his family. And Job says, "Thank you, God, for my life and for this food." And then he said, "Well, give Job a horrible disease, a debilitating disease. Take away his farms, give him drought, give him send locusts, send everything." And there Job is barely able to speak, and yet he's still praising God, and he's expressing gratitude to God for his life and everything. And so finally God says, "Okay, see there, Satan, Job is good. You fuck off, and I'm going to give Job everything back. I'm going to give him his health. I'm going to give him new wives and new children and new land, and he's going to be happy, blah, blah, blah." So the book of Job was, as far as I know, biblical scholars will say that the serpent in the Garden of Eden was Satan, the one who said, "If you eat from this tree, you will be like a god. You will know good from evil. So eat the fruit."
So my question is, why worship Satan if God is so benevolent that after killing your family, he's going to give you new wives?
Right? It's true. It's true. But at the same time, I can appreciate how the present day, the popular Satanists today, are the ones that are protesting and calling attention to injustice.
Yeah.
And so Shetem, I mean, enemy also means basically prosecuting attorney, the accuser, the one who tells you you're wrong. And so as far as angels go, if somebody is a devotee of Saint Raphael, then maybe they're a healer. If they're a devotee of Saint Gabriel or Saint Michael, then they have some specific role that they're embodying. And fallen angels, I think maybe that too. Shetem, that people who call themselves Satanists and then who go out and protest against the dairy industry or against the meat industry. I'm all for those people, and I think that they're in the best possible way devotees of the accusing angel, the angel that tells people that they're fucked. And that says, you think this guy's so perfect, well, watch what happens when you do this. That's an interesting archetype. And then in Christianity, they took that idea of the old Satan, and they added, horns that they got from Pan, and they added a bunch of stuff, and they just made it the embodiment of all evil, so that it's something to scare children, so that they'll be sure to go to church and save me from the bad monster that they keep telling me about. Like if you showed someone a horror movie, Freddy Krueger every weekend. And
exactly.
said, if you want to get away from Freddy Krueger, well, you've got to go to church, whatever. Then it turned into something else.
And unknowingly, the church have made Satan.
Yeah, they invented it.
They invented it, and they have made this archetype so devilish, so sexy, and so skillful in music, and so skillful in everything. He's God himself.
And then in a Christian community, you'll find the church on one side of town and the brothel on the other side of town, or the porn store or whatever. They don't have porn stores anymore because it's all on the internet. But like the heathen of sin, the den of sin, and the people who are drinking and doing bad things. But they're the same people, and it's built in. You go over here, you do all the sinning, then you go to church, you say you're sorry, you feel good for 10 minutes, you go back to the bar, and it's the same people going back and forth because of that dichotomy that they created between Jesus and Satan. Where meanwhile in tantric practice, and then there's no, if you say to someone who's a tantric practitioner, like, what's the difference between divinity and sexual energy, they'll say, why do you assume there's a difference?
Exactly.
Where if you ask a Christian or a Puritan type Christian, they'll say, oh, well, surely the sex energy is there for the devil to tempt you, and the divine energy is there to save you from the evil sexual Satan energy. It's like, why? Who needed to control who for you to be thinking that way now, it seems like whenever you have some kind of fascist, imperialist, empire, entity telling its people that they should keep it in their pants, somewhere along the line, you should all join the army, and you should all pay your taxes, and everybody go to work and be happy to be slaves, and it's all built in. It's not religion. It's just some kind of corporate brainwashing.
Exactly. I don't get to talk to many Christians here. But in company, I used to, talk to different Muslims, and according to them, they said that there are different. Suppose, just creating a story. Suppose I meditate, Edwards meditate, and after a certain amount of time, when they enter void, when they are about to get to enlightenment, it's not a holy book, but we gave it a name of holy book, some words or some kind of knowledge, like Nikola Tesla said that there is some kind of Akashic records that we retrieve knowledge from, but we do not know, we do not have access to that database, universal database, but we get knowledge from that very database. That's the only source. And after you meditate and you get to the void, and there's a point that nobody is there to disturb you, or then you get a book and they name it something. In the same way, while talking to Muslims, because their culture is very strict in their form, and they say that this is the only book which is real, and all other books are tempered. Okay, if I consider it a fact, for a time being, if I consider it a fact, then they say that Jesus was also real, and his coming to this earth was already prophesied by the previous people, and it is said that the book which came into his mind was named Injil in their language, and nobody knows where this book is, and it's one of very powerful books because it's one of the purest, as Jesus is said to be the icon of love and the purity itself. So it's also kind of beautiful theory. But what do you think, as a member of Golden Dawn and as a member of Freemasonry, what do you think there's a difference in both of the things?
Well, I'm not a Freemason. No longer a member of Golden Dawn. But a difference between what and what?
Golden Dawn and Freemasonry.
Or a difference between those two? I don't know. I mean, I'm not myself. I'm not a Freemason. But I know that there's differences in the rituals and there's differences in the teachings. But Golden Dawn derived a lot from Masonry, the secret handshakes and kind of the formality of the way that the ceremonies are done, the oath with the sword and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good question. I mean, but that'd be a better question for someone who's both a Freemason and a Golden Dawn practitioner.
Yeah.
I've interviewed a few such people.
And what was their answer?
That's a good question. Generally that Golden Dawn goes a bit deeper and includes more esoteric practices and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm largely ignorant about Masonry, unfortunately. The one thing that comes to mind is the thing that people make a lot of. Of all the things presented in the neophyte ceremony of the Golden Dawn, the thing that a lot of people kind of hold to and that informs their decisions in life and their philosophies and their political affiliations, etc., is that unbalanced severity is cruelty and oppression, but unbalanced mercy is weakness and lack of will, and would allow evil to exist unchecked, thereby making itself the accomplice of evil.
Okay.
And so that's different from love thy neighbor. You know what I mean? It's a little different from like the Tao, those who don't know they're being ruled, or that kind of thing. It's for one thing, it's open to interpretation. So if somebody considers Tantra evil, then they're going to want to make sure that nobody practices it because, God damn it, in the Neophyte Oath it said he who allows evil to exist unchecked is an accomplice to evil. If they consider this and that evil, if their parents taught them and they really embodied that some particular way of life, smoking marijuana, whatever it is that they've decided is just evil, and so that they're not going to let it go on unchecked, because then they're an accomplice of evil. That's an interesting thing that I've noticed. It kind of divides people because of the definition. If someone brings in a particular definition of evil, then they need to cut themselves. They need to cut it out. They need to be completely intolerant toward some particular way of practicing. Like I have someone I used to call a friend who, because I wrote a book report about the Golden Dawn, told me never to speak to her again because I'm open to energies and practices that she does not invite, and therefore I should never contact her again. And so, I mean, like, me talking to you and talking about Luciferian stuff and talking about demons and this kind of thing without just being like, well, I'm uncomfortable with the conversation. Let's just talk about light and fairies, is gonna cause people to decide that I'm evil, you know, because we're having this conversation. So therefore, I should be stopped, you know, therefore I should be cut out of, you know, whatever. And so, yeah. It's interesting, but that doesn't really answer your question. The Masons, yeah. I mean, again, I only have like a very limited understanding of what they do and what they practice and what their teachings are.
The book that you gave me, Transformations.
Oh yeah,
it was a very good book
that
I read. And was it your father's book or was it your grandfather's book?
My father's book.
Okay. And there was a very interesting chapter. The agreements.
Oh yeah. With the capital A. The agreements.
The agreements.
Like gravity
Yeah.
and plate tectonics.
The agreements in the scientific level as well, and the agreements in spiritual level, like agreements of angelic and demonic itself as well.
Yeah.
That if, you know, demonic energy is in its working, and if lion is gonna kill someone and eat for its food, then angelic energy does not interfere. It's just that.
Yeah.
It's just the word.
Yeah.
And, I completely agree with that because we see that. We see that in reality. And who knows at what level these agreements are at the invisible level.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
This is just the visible level that we can see.
Yeah, it's almost like those capital A agreements he was talking about. Some of them are like the laws of physics.
Exactly.
Like when we were all infinite divine white light, and then we decided, hey, let's play a game. Then that was an agreement. And then we're all going to divide up and we're going to pretend we're separate people. That was an agreement. And then we're going to incarnate and we're going to have birth and life and death and love and sex and hate and all these things. Those were agreements. And so we all play, like if you play Monopoly, one person can't say, well, instead of rolling dice, I'm just going to move the piece over here. Like, no, you have to roll the dice, dude. That's the agreement. And so in the big capital G game of life that we're playing, we've all made these agreements and we're all adhering to them. And there they are. And so when death comes around, you can't just, you know, be like, no, this isn't fair. It's like, no, it comes around for everybody. You know, that's part of the agreement. It's you bought the ticket, you know, like there's suffering, there's pain, there's puberty, there's all kinds of things, you know, in life.
Now, there's, you know, the talk is going to be a little more deeper and deeper, because many times in the struggles of life and, you know, in weird moments, sometimes I'm very happy. I have just got a glimpse of the moment that I'm very happy. This is the moment that I'm enjoying. Now the next moment I'm going to die. A glimpse, just a glimpse that I've got. I believe many of the people have got, spiritual people might have got, I believe everyone, but all does not lay emphasis on that. People who just lay emphasis on that, or, you know, just try to analyze what exactly it is, from where is it coming from. Those are spiritual people. And I just get the glimpse of, you know, I'm old and next day I'm just gonna die. What is the feeling and how I'm gonna handle it, you know? And then suddenly I go into meditation and I get peace. How would you explain, and, you know, what is your take on this? This is a sacred feeling, I believe.
I liken that, perhaps just my first response, the first thing out of the top of my head, is when you're working on your computer, and there's hackers that are using your computer to do, you know, attacks on governments. You know, there's all kinds of stuff going on in your computer. And you know, you run things in the background, and eventually the computer starts to get really slow. You know, and meditation or a good, nice sleep is kind of like turning off the computer and turning it back on again. The RAM is completely empty.
Yeah.
And I think that the contemplation of a certain idea, maybe a certain, like a koan in Zen, somebody says, what's the sound of one hand clapping? When a tree falls in a forest, does it make a sound? Something like that. Or the contemplation of what will it feel like when I'm confronting death, causes one to realize, oh, all the things that I'm upset about right now, I'm not going to care about in 5 minutes, or a year, let alone at the moment of death. What's important? Like, and all the things we're going to have to let go of in the process of death, the things we're not taking with us, which is everything.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit like hitting the reset button on a computer, the computer that is our brain. And then the RAM is empty. And then, we're operating at optimum capacity.
Yeah. Exactly.
All
complete reset.
Yeah.
Factory restore.
Yeah.
It goes back to the factory, the main factory, the original source.
Yeah.
And then, I would like to record that event, but that is not possible.
Right.
That is not possible.
Yeah.
But, how to explain that? I'm enjoying my life, but I'm still, waiting for that moment.
Yeah.
Why? Because I want to see my ability that at that point of time, was my path correct? Am I able to handle this properly or not?
Right.
Yeah. And if still I'm afraid, then, I believe Alexander was much better than me. He looted and plundered the world, but still he went away liking, And who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
This element of mystery, I believe this is very important.
Yeah. We're losing our electricity, and if I decide to leave this part in. So you were saying about the what's the name of the place near Rishikesh that starts with a D?
Hemkund Sahib.
Or the one that starts with a D? The way the
Dehradun, yes.
Where the doctor that was investigating the line between life and death.
It's nearby Dehradun. It's Ranikhet.
Ranikhet. How interesting.
Doctor's Abbey's Hospital. You can search that on internet as well.
Abbey? ABI?
ABBY.
ABBY, Dr. Abbey's Hospital. Sounds interesting. Thank you. Is there a subject we should... What haven't we covered?
There is a book in our religion. We are not Hindus. Not directly Hindus.
Sikh, right?
Yeah, Sikh. Those people who wear turbans. And
but aren't Muslim.
They are kind of a mix of Hindu and Muslim. And you'll find why. Because in their book, in the holy book, otherwise there are 10 Sikh gurus, 10 Sikh masters. But the words of only 6 masters is there in the book. And rest 35 Hindu and Muslim masters' words are there.
Interesting.
So it's a blend of everything.
Yeah.
So what is their point of view? The words of those masters have been entered who were into more of devotion and bhakti cult. Bhakti is very simple. It's just love towards one's master. Love towards Krishna, love towards Yeshua, love towards blind love.
Crowley.
Yeah. Blind love towards, which eventually leads to meditation. Because we do not have got any questions. It's blind love.
Yeah.
We got faith on Yeshua, or we got faith on Krishna, Shiva, or whatever. It's bhakti. But we believe on that. And there's a point when you start meditating on the name Krishna. Om Krishnaya Namah. Om Krishnaya Namah. Om Krishnaya Namah. And then you suddenly forget the name even. And you get into void. And that's the point, where we have to get eventually. It's not easy, but yeah, that's the point where we have to get. It's always an indirect road.
Yeah.
And that's where bhakti leads to. And it's not looking for manipulations, that you're looking for magical energies or rituals that you have done to enhance your business career, or you have done to enhance your sexual life or love life, or you're not having children, so you're trying to manipulate certain universal energies to get children in your life. No, it's not about that. It's about blind love, who don't want anything.
Habibi.
Yeah. We already have everything. We just want your devotion. We just want your name. And that is the way of Krishna. That is way of our gurus. But at the same time, the books which are not there in our holy book, as I told you, that there are only 6 masters' words registered and recorded in our holy book. Rest are all Hindu and Muslim saints, sages. Where did that 4 to 5 other gurus' words went? Where are they? They are in the libraries. But if you read them, they're exactly like yoga and tantra, which are real gurus. Not just they all contradict. They all contradict. It's just from that you can feel that this Guru Granth Sahib, our holy book, is meant for a normal human being, normal man, who cannot make sacrifices of a celibate life, and which is not even required. Otherwise, if you think globally or cosmically, why were we created then? Why were both sexes
We'd
created?
all die out if everybody took a vow of celibacy and kept it.
So there is no life then. So that's actually life energy which is populating everything. So another point of view, I would think that this is just another point of view, which is of our Sikh gurus, which exactly resembles the depth of meditation and tantra. And there was one book which first Guru Nanak Dev, gave to one king of Sri Lanka. In that book, you would see he had talked about all the spiritual shelves. It's just an example that he's giving. There are a lot of shelves inside on which you have kept certain emotions and certain properties of your characteristics of your souls. Okay? And those are the spiritual shelves. Yeah? And there are
chakras, maybe.
Maybe chakras. It's just his way of telling. And there are certain veins, and those veins represents certain powers of yours. He's talked about this chakra, and he's saying that Nabhi Kamal, Nabhi
Talking about the
means,
second chakra is Swadhisthana.
Nabhi means this chakra, or belly button. Nabhi Kamal mein Naam Pragas. It contains Nabhi Kamal, Nabhi chakra contains the vibration of eternal being. If you focus deep, without any judgments, neutral, just be neutral, and just focus. After a long time, not very easily, after a long time of meditation, you will feel after certain happiness, blissfulness, and completely the opposite, depressions. After which you want to quit meditation. Even if you do not then quit meditation, then you reach a certain point when you clear all your chakras of depression and everything. Then you reach a point which brings you to this eternal vibration, the Omkar, something like that. It's not exactly Om, it's not exactly Omkar, it's not exactly Onk. It can be anything, but it's something around that. And that's what he has talked about. It is a very good theory, and what they have talked about is Kirat Karo. Kirat Karo means do your good deeds, what you have to do. Because anyways, we are material beings, we have to do it.
Yeah.
If we do not do anything, then we will be, homeless one day.
Yeah.
We have to earn something. We have to, do your deeds. Kirat karo, naam japo. Naam japo means chant the name. Now there is a catch. The name that human has created, Om, or the name which is eternally present, which we didn't create it. That is the catch. He is talking about the eternal name, which we do not speak. We have to find out that name, and we have to, dive into the current of that eternal chanting which is going on.
No, I'm just kidding.
That is nice.
Yeah.
That is nice.
Yeah.
So at least the path is correct. Once the path is correct, then there is no drifting away. The ancestors call you, your ancestors, my ancestors, they call you, and then the path is correct, then there is no drifting away. Then we, with struggles, with all the probabilities of life, we eventually get into that eternal point. That is the teaching of Sikh gurus. Kirat karo, naam japo, eternal chanting, and vand chako. That means there is a concept of mass langar or food. Offering of food to everyone. If you go to gurdwaras, there's Sikh temples, gurdwaras. In those temples, there is always free food for everybody. So that is the meaning of same. If you come to Gurdwara, doesn't matter if you are a king, doesn't matter if you are a poor person, who is foul smelling or whatever, you are served in the same plates. You have to eat together. This brings brotherhood.
Yeah.
Very simple psychology. No tantra, no big, they're very simple people. Saint and warriors. First they were saints. The last guru was warrior, because Aurangzeb, the Mughal person, which is also recorded in the history of Taj Mahal, who imprisoned his own father, I believe. He was he's a tyrant person. And Aurangzeb, he had a conversation with our last guru, and our last guru said that you're converting everybody into a Muslim. Do you even know the meaning of Muslim? What is the meaning of Muslim? Muslim means the person who is stable in his character, the person who knows, who is the dweller of truth, who is in, who is positive in his iman. Iman means character and truth. Whatever is truth, he is stable in that. And that is Muslim. Doesn't matter if he is, circumcised or not.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that was our last guru was fighting about. All other gurus, 9 gurus, were saints. Only the last guru, all other was martyrs. There is such a history that the 9th guru was martyred by the Muslims, and he said that, okay, if you want to convert me and convert all these Hindus into Muslims, then you have to convert me first. If you convert me, then I will be, all these people will be Muslims. They were not able to convert him. What they did with him was Muslims have given ghastly tortures to everyone. In hardcore Islam, the Sufis were very liberals.
Right. Yeah, I like the Sufis.
Yeah. And what they did with him was that hot sand was kept in a cauldron and fire was burning at the bottom. He was made to sit in that cauldron, and hot sand was poured into his head, and at last slowly his head skin was cut and his brain was slashed open, and still he was chanting something. I don't know what, but he was chanting something, and he was into deep meditation. He was not feeling anything. This incident is still ancient. But there was one more thing when there was a war between Vietnam and America. There was one. You can find the pictures on internet as well. There was one Lama who, in protest, was in meditation, poured some volatile substance on himself, and he burned himself. But he was not moving. He was not screaming. He was just in meditation procedure. That he got burnt alive, and he was just in meditation.
Yeah.
And people still worship that thing as the name of Buddha. Nobody knew his name even. And the same thing, the kind of tortures have been done by the Muslim imperialist parties to Sikh gurus, but they were so simple and bland that they accepted everything. But only the last guru, he was a rebellion. That okay, 9 gurus have tried everything. They have tried everything, all means of peacefulness, but now I have to pick up sword. Now I have to pick up sword. Even his arrows, there are stories that his arrows used to be, the tips of arrows used to be of gold. Why? Because he used to kill somebody, but there used to be compassion, and he was forced by Aurangzeb and Muslim leaders to pick up sword and arrow. But the tip of arrow used to be of gold, so that the other person can take out the arrow and at least sell the arrow to do the cremation of that person.
Wow.
That was what the intention was behind. So these are the Sikh gurus, the latest ones, and our scripture is said that it's not corrupted. Slowly, eventually, after 10 years or 50 years, it will get corrupted. But yeah, at this point of time, it is said it is not corrupted yet. But the stories are real, that the deeds, what they did and what they tried to make us understand. I'll just give you one example. It's not just that if it is India, if it is an ancient culture, if it is Africa, if it is an ancient culture, witchcraft of Britain, it's an ancient culture, then those people, it's not necessary that those people would not be little arrogant. Doesn't mean that.
Oh yeah, human nature is human nature.
Human nature is human nature. So, what they wanted us to understand, the Sikh gurus, they wanted us to understand was that ultimately, it is written in our book, no matter how many chants you do, no matter how many fasts you do, no matter how many holy places you bathe in, the holy waters you bathe in, you're not going to get the supreme eternal thing. You might get certain angelic and demonic powers. That field is different. But beyond that is the master. That thing you can never get with any chanting or anything. But there's one catch which they mentioned. They said you can get it with Guru Prasad. Guru Prasad means with the blessing of Guru, with the blessing of Master. And then another catch starts. Because there is another contradiction there. They say, from their lifetime, you can gauge that they have been contradicting the living gurus, living Hindu gurus, living Muslim gurus who have been misleading people. That is why they said, they just gave a rule in our religion that Sab Sikhan ko hukam hai, Guru mane Granth. That means all Sikh people are commanded not to believe in this age of Kali Yuga, this age of Kali Yuga, not to believe in any living guru because they have experienced everything.
Yeah.
Now you have to believe in this holy book that we are giving you. This is just this is sum total of everything good, Vedas, Muslims, Hindus, Christians, whatever. It's sum total of everything in one book. You just have to see that book as a guru, because you cannot believe in a living guru.
Yeah.
And in that book they have written that the catch that I was talking about, Guru Mano Granth, that means the book, the holy book is your guru. And one more thing, guru doesn't come from outside. They are just trying to say that, does a living person comes and teach you everything? There have been numerous people who might have taught you a lot of things, but there is no miracle that has happened. Life is going in the same way. There are same kind of pains that you have to bear. What kind of miracle has he done? You have to still, face the same kind of pains and same kind of things that, you have to go through. The guru, the right master, comes from inside. He's talking about the soul. He's not even talking about the book. He's pointing towards the book, but in the book, again, another pointer is given, which is toward the soul. That is the catch.
Yeah.
That is the catch. He's talking about the eternal soul, and he's talking about that, you have to believe the eternal soul. All the tantras, all the mantras, all the yoga, and every right path comes from your eternal souls. It's not a direct path, it's a very indirect path, very painful path, and long path, but right path, And, even if you got some kind of, hesitation in believing some person, a particular person, that, he has told me something, but, he doesn't make any sense to me. It's a good quality, It's a good quality that you're not believing him blindly. That means ancestor is calling from somewhere. The soul is calling from somewhere that, come back, I'll teach you the right path. Which is good for you.
Yeah.
Might be which is good for you, according to your ancestors.
Yeah.
That is what I like in this very simple book. And
Yeah.
this believes in Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga, that means if you are a disciple of Christ, then Christ...
Devotional yoga.
Devotional yoga.
Yeah.
And he will lead you to the right path. Directly or indirectly, doesn't matter how much we deny, he is the ancestor. He is your ancestor. I believe, if you take an example, if you go in the caves, they have drawn certain pictures. In the caves, they have Africans, Native Americans, they have drawn pictures of hunting, of worshipping certain idols, of certain beings coming from sky, We cannot draw anything until we have seen certain things. It is human nature also.
Yeah.
We cannot just imagine anything until we have we have seen something related to it.
Yeah.
In the same way, once we go into meditation, we see a lot of things.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Yeshua, be it Krishna, be it Buddha, it might be some kind of truth in that. Some kind of truth has to be there. Might be half truth, but if we follow that with devotion, without any prejudices that this race is bad or this race is bad, just follow the path of that particular person, not just the book, that particular person.
Yeah.
The energy is potent enough to drag your soul back to the ancestors. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
That's what the Luciferians have told me, and that's what I have agreed to as well.
I've encountered a lot of people who I think probably as a pendulum swing, the pendulum, the swings one extreme and then the other. As a result of so many generations of blindly believing, people blindly reject.
Yeah.
So if you start to talk in a way that you use a keyword or something, some concept that reminds people of the thing that their ancestors were blindly accepting, then they blindly reject it. and they say, no, that's spiritual, that's religious, that's mystical, that's something made up, therefore. And I only believe in science, or even that I don't believe in. I'm skeptical about even the things I'm skeptical about, and I definitely am not going to pay any attention if you're going to talk about a soul, if you're going to talk about spirit, if you're going to talk about chakras, if you're going to talk about meditation, if you're going to talk about any of these things that I put under the category of hocus pocus bullshit that people made up, then I reject it. So it's like the blindly rejecting is just as counterproductive as blindly accepting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one incident online with one of my friends. I used to talk to certain American ladies, and they talked about their Luciferian stuff. They talked about their traditional British ladies were there, and they talked about their traditional British witchcraft and their ways. And then I talked about Tantra. And she started fighting with me, and she got angry like anything. Very funny story that I asked one of my other friends, the female friends itself, that I talked to this lady about Tantra, and why do you do? She said that why do you talk to her about Tantra directly? I said that what is the problem with what is the problem with Tantra? I just talked about Tantra, about the different practices. She might have been little more knowledgeable. She said that the kind of Tantra which is practiced and which is preached in UK and US, it is all about sex Tantra. Yeah. She might have thought that you were trying to flirt with her.
Right, yeah. You brought up the word Tantra. Yeah, because I think that's because in Britain and UK and US specifically, Puritanism was such a huge influence.
Yeah.
After the Renaissance in Italy, there were so many British people that were kind of on board with that and studying pagan things and interested in artists and Greek philosophy and all these other things. And their children around, the 16th century, I'm just going to throw that out there, were rejecting that and saying that's not what's in the Bible. The Bible says this and that, and so they reject it and call it evil, call it Satan, and so ever since then, now as children, as great-great-grandchildren of these Puritans, when people hear about Tantra, they say, wait, it's a religious practice that includes and involves and even talks about sexuality? And even in India, there's a little bit of a repression, a little bit of don't talk about that, don't mention that. And so someone like Osho comes along and he's a rebel, because he's talking about things that you're not supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
And so that's the only thing people get out of Tantra. That's the only thing people know about Tantra, is and I consider myself very lucky that my father went through all these processes to the point where when I was 4 and 5 years old, he was teaching me about Tantra, and I didn't even know what sex was for several more years. And but he was talking about energies that connect people and subtle forces and working with sound and mantra and all these other things before I started to learn more about the tantric practice of sitting in yab-yum and circulating energy and the things that people normally, their mind goes straight to when they think of Tantra. Yeah.
And also, regarding that very incident, that lady then again opened up to me a little bit more. She explained, as I told you, that she might have been a little more knowledgeable about the subject. She might have learned about different cultures. She told me that this is no big deal. This is no big deal. Tantra and everything. The similar kind of practices were present in British witchcraft, in which they offer their semen to the goddess, the moon, in the time of full moon, and it used to be considered very powerful to do the mating in the presence of full moon and making a wish with that energy. It used to be considered very potent, and similar kind of practices with their Egyptian
Yeah.
practices as well. So that was very interesting to know. Also, in your culture, it is said that in America, even at the times of Osho, whenever there are any cults involved, FBI always keeps their eye on those cults that they might
because
not
of Charles Manson,
Oh.
basically. Yeah.
And what is, I don't know the story, what is he and what wrong he has done?
He was giving LSD and Hell's Bells. Well, forget the name of the chemical, but it's a very awful kind of induces kind of a nightmarish state of mind. And he basically brainwashed his followers into this idea that, you know, this ultimate evil was being perpetrated through Hollywood, and so what they should do is go to this particular house at this particular time where there was this particular party and kill all these actors and people in Hollywood, and they did it. So he himself wasn't there, but his followers went and brutally murdered a bunch of Hollywood actors, and then
So that actually happened.
yeah.
Oh.
And they were arrested. He was arrested, and their cult was out in the desert in this little shed, you know, this shack where they were taking acid, and he was. So I mean, it was kind of like the dark side of the hippies. The hippies were. Let's break away from former ways of doing things, and Charles Manson was even hanging out with the Beach Boys and things like that, like famous rock musicians, and So yeah, it was basically a wake-up call for people who thought that anything, because at the time in the late 60s, it was getting to the point where people who were rejecting old ways of thinking, rejecting sort of the 1950s sort of Norman Rockwell mentality, were saying, okay, break away and take LSD and tune in, turn out, drop off, or whatever the fuck. And it's showing that, but there's a dark side to that, or that it can be twisted, or that it's possible for it to go this direction. And so ever since him, the word cult has had a negative connotation, especially in the U.S. And whenever there's some kind of small religious organization that's unusual, or especially where there's a charismatic leader, then people think of that. They associate it with that. And there were a few others. Jim Jones. Is it okay if I use this towel?
Yeah.
Jim Jones was another one where he had a following of, I believe, a few thousand people, and they ended up moving down to South America, and they had a farm and all this other stuff. And at a certain point, he had everybody drink poison, and they all died. I mean, and the twisted thing is, the first time he said, okay, everybody, we're going to drink poison. And then they all drank the poison. But then he said, oh, just kidding, it wasn't really poison. And then he did it again, and it was real. And then they all died. And so between Jim Jones and Charles Manson and, a few others, cults have had a negative connotation in the U.S. ever since. And pretty much around the world. I mean, people look to that and they see these horrible examples. But, I mean, of course, not all small spiritual organizations with a leader go that direction. I mean, sometimes you have someone who's someone who's been practicing a long time, and they have a lot of interesting things to offer, and then they get a following, and then they get popular, and then there's more people, and they're not going to lead everybody to commit suicide or to kill anyone or that kind of thing. Osho was an example of that. When he was in Oregon, there was a point where, according to the story, he had taken a vow of silence, and the German woman he had put in charge of his organization ended up organizing the poisoning of 900 people in Oregon in order to influence elections, because they didn't want to be voted out of Oregon. And so 900 people got salmonella poisoning because they were spraying salad bars with salmonella and all this other stuff. And he said he had no knowledge of it. He didn't know it was happening. He had taken a vow of silence. That was all done without his knowledge or consent. And so, I mean, it's basically anybody's guess whether that's true or not. But for a long time, I had disregarded Osho as, possibly being involved in the poisoning of all these people. But more recently, I've talked to people.
I've heard about this bionic terror or something kind of thing. So what was the story? I don't even know about that story.
He had a big following. There's actually a documentary series right now that people are watching in the U.S. About this very subject. But he had a big following. He had his dynamic meditation where people would dance and shout and do all this stuff, and that was a form of meditation. He also, when he had people in Oregon building a city, he said working all day, that's a form of meditation. So you're going to work all day, and then at the end of the day, you pick a partner and you go have great sex with whoever in the community. So there was that tantric sort of idea of it doesn't matter who you're with, you're just going to work with the energies. Was around, and then he had multiple Mercedes that he'd drive around, and everybody would line up and cheer, and they all had his picture in a little locket, and they wore red robes, and then he took a vow of silence, and then at a certain point, the rest of Oregon was trying to vote for him to have to leave, and so he wanted to make sure that these people that didn't like him were so sick that they could, it was either him or it was the woman he put in charge, were so sick that they couldn't vote that day.
Krishna is called Banki Bihari. Banki Bihari means an attractive Bihari. And Banki Bihari, why do we call him Banki Bihari? Because he's a trickster, and he has got all tricks to flirt with the girls, and he has got all tricks to manipulate the warriors into fighting their own people. He is a Banki Bihari. So that's ISKCON temple, I believe. Their Krishna culture is completely different from the decoration. You can see from the decoration of their Krishna idol, the way they decorate Radha, the way they decorate, the priests decorate the picture of Krishna. The culture is completely different from the Shivite culture. Shiva people, in decorating their own idol, it's completely different. It's more into Aghora and demonic and dark side, and Krishna is more toward beauty and it's kind of Bihari culture, the way they dress their idol. And Ram, Ayodhya, it's, I believe, UP, Uttar Pradesh. And the birthplace of Rama is Ayodhya. You can also visit that place if you wish. There are a hell lot of places in India, but Himalayas are, best.
Yeah.
They are the best
Yeah.
to visit. But the decoration will tell you that the culture is different. Shakti cult is completely different. Shakti cult, that means goddess culture. And I got recurring dreams of some people of America and UK in a small room with powder, a red colored powder. There's a red colored powder that we call gulal.
The one that they put-
Yeah. Sindoor or gulal.
We were the other day, I saw a pile of it, and I said, I'm going to take some of that and put it right here.
Yeah.
And she's like, do you know what that means? And I said, yeah.
And I've got recurrent dreams of even goddess Kali's yoni, that means her vagina, is worshipped in the same way. That whole universe, the cosmos, has emerged from the vulva of cosmos. The Kali is what? It's nothing but cosmos. That's it. So the representation gives us that we are all born from the spit and spat or sperm of the god and the goddess. Yeah, Pita or Shiva.
Yeah.
That's it. So I've got the recurring dreams of the same, and there is a temple in Assam called Kamakhya Devi. There was a time that, just a story, I don't know if it's real, but it's mythological. There was a time that daughter of king of Himalayas, Parvati, that means goddess Shakti, reincarnated as girl or daughter of Himalayas. Daughter of king of Himalayas. His name is not documented. He is called as Himachal. On his name, Himalayas name is created. So the daughter of Himalayas marries a Aghora, or a kind of homeless person. Just imagine the situation. Daughter of a king marries a beggar, a homeless man, but a very powerful tribal king, who everyone assumes as a king of the universe, but his father does not know his reality, what he actually is. Then he challenges her, because her father is a kind of power of Brahma, the creator one, the creator force. But Shiva, her husband, is a destroyer force. So it's a game. Her father challenges the ugly looking homeless person, which is, with the braids and all. He challenges her husband that you're a daughter of a king and you've married a beggar, and she cannot, as a very traditional girl, she cannot bear the insult of her husband. She revolts, and after that she commits suicide in fire. Shiva got angry that I already told her that not to go back to her father, because her father, according to his intuition, his powers, is going to insult her. She's not going to bear that, and she's going to commit suicide. She committed suicide, and he took a form of a demonic being called Veerbhadra. He killed his father and all his warriors and everything. Everywhere there was bloodshed on Himalayas. And for centuries it was said that he took the body of his burnt wife and wandered in wilderness in silence. Then his brother Vishnu, the preserver, he destroyed the body of goddess which was in his arms, so that his consciousness get distracted. He burns the body of the goddess, the body blasts, and wherever her body parts gets dropped, there is a different temple created over there. Kamakhya Devi is a temple where her vagina is, her reproductive organ is there. And that's a place in Assam where the most tantric practices, secret practices are done, which are not accessible to normal human beings. There is a Nana Devi. Nana Devi, Nan means eyes, where her eyes are kept. In where it is said that her eyes dropped. There is Jwalaji, where her I believe stomach, because it is fire, it digests, and you can feel the heat, acid, while it digests. So that's Jwalaji. So that's goddess of fire, where that that body part dropped. So there are different body parts were dropped in different places in Himalayas, and that people gave different name to them. So it's a beautiful thing. I have visited till now to Hemkund Sahib, which I am recommended you. If you go to Rishikesh, you have to go to Hemkund Sahib. Beautiful place for trekking, 22 kilometers or more. And military is always there for assistance, because a lot of people, if they are not following the rules, they die on glaciers. So there are a lot of people, even family people with children go there.
Yeah.
So military people assist them. Hemkund Sahib is there, Manali is there, Sadhupul, Shimla Chel, Kali Tibba. So it's all recorded, and you can write it over here as well. I'll give you the numbers as well. I will message you the numbers. Are you on WhatsApp? So you can WhatsApp me, I'll give you the numbers.
Cool.
I'll talk to different people. They're from my colloquial places. They'll assist you. There might be some places which I have not visited because they have not recommended me, because a girl was with me, my wife.
Yeah.
We're only, there are tests done before whether you smoke or not.
Right.
Even if you smoke, whether are you able to walk a mile or not.
Yeah.
They do a test before sending you to those places. So it's okay. They have not recommended me to go to those places because of my wife.
Right.
But I will go over there once I'm ready. You can go there always. Ladakh, Lahaul Spiti. But Kheer Ganga is one of the divine places. Kheer Ganga means itself. My wife has created a dish called kheer. You can understand after that why the water of those places is called kheer. Let me just bring kheer. It's a sweetie. You can taste it and you can see why it is called elixir.
Cool.
And the ritual is not yet complete. Why? Because this liquid has to be kept for 1 or 2 days into full moon light, and we have not kept it into full moon light yet. And after that, it is said to be contained with medicinal properties.
Nice.
When I saw the pictures on internet, and then I was approximately sure that Edward is going to come to India and he's going to surely fall in love with any Indian girl. This is called a kind of purest liquid of gods, kind of offering that we make to different gods. And once it is kept in moonlight, it is said that it has got medicinal properties.
It's really good.
But the conversation continues.
Are you going to write a book? What are your plans for the future?
I was writing a book. It's in my kitty. I've kept it in my notes online, and I'm going to complete it. And what I have done is that I have related Kemetic principles, the Indian principles, all the ancient principles, and I have told their similarities and what is there in dark. What is there not to be afraid of dark?
Yeah.
And what is there not to be afraid of devil and so-called
Lucifer,
created
Satan.
image of devil.
Yeah.
And I have given salutations to my gurus, my masters. Just to tell you, I don't have any master as of now, traditionally, but I have gotten Diksha. Diksha means a kind of blessing or kind of ritual which is done so that you can start a chant. That means a guru, a master, is giving you a chant, and he is giving you his power so that your chant can be 100% potent. That's it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I feel, according to my experience, what I have felt, that Guru, as our masters said in our book, that Guru is actually here. It's actually here. It's the soul.
It's the 6th and 2nd chakras for those.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's your own eternal energy. It's the fallen one. What is the fallen one? We are the fallen one. We came to here in this material world to die and to face all these pains and everything. We are the fallen ones. And we have been given this opportunity to live life, rediscover it, and then claim that welcome to earth. This is a place where men and their metal is forged into becoming of gods. Yeah. That's what it is. So that's what my feeling is, and that's what what all these Luciferian communities and different religions and different terminology has taught me till now.
When I was in Kathmandu, I was hanging out with a man who was staying in the same hotel as me. He's an older guy, and he's been traveling a long time. He's from Australia, and he is a lover of music, had thousands of songs, electronica, and then a lot of yoga music. And when he would go off on an errand, he would give me his iPod and his headphones and say, "Here, listen to this playlist." And one of his playlists I was listening to, and it sounded really familiar. And I said, "Is this Amandeep Singh?" And he's like, "Yeah," And then he says, "Yeah, I have a few of his songs here." And I said, "I know this guy. I'm going to be meeting him when I'm in India. I'm going to be interviewing him." And he was very excited and impressed. And he wanted me to make sure to keep him informed about when you come out with new songs. Things like that.
That's great.
Yeah. So I thought that was great. This random guy in Kathmandu from Australia was playing me your music.
And even in those groups that I talk to. At this point of time, I'm mostly in contact with Luciferian groups. Otherwise, there are other groups as well. There is a group called Sorcerers Guild, and he's working. They're very technical people. And he's working on different sigils and sigils of different other communities and stuff like that. And syntax and mechanism, how it works.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And he also played my music somewhere during the meditation. And a girl told me that somebody played your music. They told me that they were playing your music.
Nice.
I felt... anyways, we are, even if we are not celebrities like Shah Rukh Khan or Tom Cruise or something like that, even then we are making some kind of difference.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Yeah.
Music should be there with us, and it's not for popularity.
Yeah.
It's for meditation.
Yeah. I think these days, especially, like it used to be that one person out of a million would get picked. And his voice would be on a record, and that record would be printed 100,000 times, and you'd hear it everywhere, and they were famous.
Yeah.
But nowadays, with the internet, with YouTube, with podcasts, with all these things, it's just shifting. It's changing. There's still people that really only just watch TV or maybe Netflix, let's say.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, there's people that are out there kind of seeking and searching, and that. So there's, I guess you could say, minor celebrities, but it's more like my dad was interested in 1990 in the idea of narrowcasting, what he called, instead of broadcasting, was narrowcasting.
Okay.
Like, so at his time, it was his teacher, Andrew De Pisano, and he had a TV, he had on public access, there was a program where he would talk about Tibetan tantric meditation and Buddhism, and there was some small portion of the population that was interested in that would listen to it, that would pay attention to it, and everybody else not as interested. So like this episode we're recording right now, there'll be people I've never met, people I don't know their names, that are listening to this. Not only that, but they've been listening to my podcast for a while now, and it's a certain slim sliver of the population. Some people are in Iran, some people are in China, some people are in the US or Canada or somewhere in Europe or India, and Yeah, it's good. I mean, because it's moving toward something a little bit more natural and organic. Because I think that the whole idea of one guy up on a stage with thousands of people listening to him is kind of like old-fashioned.
Yeah.
And you know, it's moving toward more of a natural, like sitting around a campfire with 8 people, and each person takes a turn telling their story, and that's how the oral tradition gets passed on. It's much more ancient, you know. So, yeah, it's good.
That's nice.
Nice. So, do you have any music coming up, or anything you're going to be recording soon, or anything you just recorded that's not really out yet?
It's not out yet, but yeah, I have recorded something which is related to 9 planets.
Interesting.
And it is going to be out from Ecstasy Records, which is European linked label. And I have talked to my music producer. He's going to get it out within 2 or 3 months.
Nice.
Also, we are working on the devotional part, bhakti, you know, which is totally based upon not rituals, not anything, just feeling and devotion, you know.
Yeah.
The Santamat, you know, and it's kind of Sikh gurus and stuff like that. So we're gonna come up with that. I'm gonna record that, but just because of this, polluted atmosphere and bronchitis, I couldn't sing.
Put it on hold. Yeah.
I just put it on hold, but soon I'm gonna promote other artists as well.
Nice.
And like you like to travel a lot. I also like to travel a lot. I'm not that much rich, but yeah, whenever I travel, I started traveling with my wife. Prior to that, I was traveling, but nearby places.
Yeah.
But when I tried traveling to Himalayas and far places, I started traveling with my wife, and it was, you can say when you have a good company to talk to, you tend to enjoy a little more.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh yeah, this trip I just went on with Piyu for the past few days to Taj Mahal and everything was just absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And I mean, Taj Mahal is one of those things you have to see Taj Mahal. I'm really glad I went with Piyu, because it was it just made it such a...
It makes sense, actually.
Divine experience. Yeah. So good.
That's nice. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of places. Himalayas is a different place. It's one of the best places which you can travel. Safest for any US or UK people who are coming to India, because those people do not tend to loot or plunder anyone. Himalayas people are much purer than people of the plains.
Right.
And there's another place, Rajasthan, the deserts. Those places, those are hill ranges of Himalayas. These are the hill ranges of Aravalli Hills. These are called Aravalli Hills. You'll find beautiful hidden lakes here, which are not discovered by anyone. Some lakes are here in Faridabad as well, which I do not dare go because some people have told me that the locals loot and plunder over there, but the views are beautiful. So I do not dare go with my wife.
Right.
Otherwise, if you're in a group with some Indians, you can go anywhere. Because they are tricky people. Indian people are tricky people. They know their trade,
Yeah.
African people know their trade, Indian people know their trade and their culture, and they can pacify their own people.
Yeah.
And also, if you do not play with the nature, which you do not know, then you are safe. Because I was planning to swim in those lakes, but somebody told me that those lakes have got certain internal whirlpools which sucks you in.
Down, yeah.
And somebody in my company also told me that while going in cab, that we discovered those lakes earlier when we were in college. Those are beautiful lakes, beautiful views. You can have beer, you can click the views, but you dare not go inside because those lakes have got certain internal tunnels which sucks you in. And one of our friends suddenly start calling us that I'm drowning. Why? Because he was suddenly stuck inside.
Wow.
And mystery of nature, something like that.
Man.
But Aravali hills are beautiful.
Yeah.
These are in this place. These hills, Gurgaon, Delhi, Faridabad, whatever hills you see here, the mountain area, these are all Aravali hills. And these extend till Rajasthan, desert area of Rajasthan, Jaipur and Gujarat. All are Aravali hills and beautiful lakes, hidden lakes which nobody has seen. You can find there, and I can give you the link of Rajasthan as well, where one of my friends
Nice.
have got access to forest officers, and they can take you to the forest.
How cool.
I haven't even planned for that as well. I will plan for that because I love traveling.
Yeah.
I have started traveling with my wife itself.
Nice. I have an Austrian friend who's in Rajasthan right now.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So, as you have been with the society, Kuhohu society, yeah. What is your thinking about? Is it similar to voodoo, or is it something completely different from that?
Both. Well, it's Kuho-yu, even though it's spelled like Kuho-hu. It's got traditional African spirituality, aka voodoo, as its core and foundation, but informed by his years of practice in Buddhism. So they study and practice Hermetic Kabbalah, Buddhism, Tenzin Buddhism, and let's see, there's elements of Masonry.
Okay.
There's a familiarity with Scientology. A lot of the people there used to be involved in Scientology, so I spent a lot of years working with a man who used to be an auditor, so I found it very refreshing to be able to speak in those terms and have everybody know what I'm talking about and be able to speak in those terms as well. But at the core is traditional African spirituality. And so they have, under the umbrella of the Gnostic Church of the Black Sun Kuho-yu, there's the Order of the Golden Dawn Temple of Tahuti Thoth, which was established while I was there, when I initiated everybody. And then there's the Order of the Temple of Lodraka, kind of in the spirit of the OTA and the OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis, and then the Ordo Templi Astarte. They've got the Ordo Templi Lodraka, and Lodraka is all of the gods. And so when they say Ho Lodraka, Kuho-yu is Ayin, Ein Sof, and Ein Sof Or. So Ein being no thing, Ein Sof being no limits, and Ein Sof Or being no limits to the light. Ho is no limits. So when they say Ho Lodraka, they're saying the limitless gods. So it's all of the gods in one. But the order of the
That's
temple,
the same symbolism as they say Baphomet is. It's sum total of all.
right? Or even Baphomet, the good and the evil, the divine and the human, the male and female, all in one symbol. And so they've got the hardcore African spirituality path, and then they've got the more westernized, Europeanized Golden Dawn path, all in the same group.
Google?
But yeah, it seems like it has a lot of potential, and he also wants it to be not just a spiritual and religious organization, but a brotherhood where people look out for each other career-wise, financially, like the Masons, but with a focus on Africa. So they don't want money leaking out everywhere to the U.S. and to Europe. Like a lot of organizations establish themselves in Africa, and people are paying dues, and the money's all going to France or the money's all going to England.
Okay.
So he wants to have an Africa first kind of people looking out for each other business-wise, and have it be self-contained, so that
Nowadays, everyone, I believe, might be energies like that. Everyone who is getting little more intellectual, they're going back to their own ancestors.
exactly.
A shift of energies like that.
Yeah, he spent a lot of years learning from Japan, learning from America, learning from Europe, and then in the end said, "Okay, I'm coming back home."
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
In the same way, I believe, as you told me once on the previous podcast, that Freemasonry was all around the Gnosticism of Bible and what Yeshua actually is. What he actually is, what he is perceived to be, that's Catholicism. But what he actually is Gnosticism. And even Bible people are coming back to their own culture. There was one guy who's not talking about Satan, but he is talking about, I don't know what this subject is all about. Maybe it's about Gnosticism. He is talking about Yaldabaoth. He is saying that Satan is just an umbrella term. The real thing that is devilish is Yaldabaoth.
The one who pretends to be God.
And I have seen, according to what he says that I have seen Yaldabaoth in core of every religion. He accuses the wrong person and the right person is sued unnecessarily. Something like that.
That's probably my friend Robbie. He's always going on about that the angry and jealous God that punishes people for arbitrary things is Yaldabaoth. And that Yeshua is the true God, and the other one is the demiurge. The Gnostic demiurge that pretends to be God and is the authoritarian, more like Zeus or something, like the king of the gods. That's the ultimate authoritarian, masculine, patriarchal, person who takes the position of God and speaks in the name of God, but that ultimately God is beyond that. Maybe related to Chironzon in Kabbalah, the archdemon of Da'at, that when you're moving up the tree and you get to Da'at and you're crossing the abyss, there's the highest rise of the head of the serpent Leviathan is the one who will claim to be your higher self and appeal to your ego and try to keep you from going beyond. And one of my teachers said that the way beyond Chironzon is the sign of silence. That you just keep moving and you don't respond, you don't argue, you don't stop to have a debate with this demon. You just, because the demon is way older than you, knows way more, knows you inside and out, and knows your ancestors and knows your whole human race, and knows exactly how to manipulate you. That the only way beyond is silence.
Exactly. That is why I believe there's one picture of this Aleister Crowley with this sign as well.
The sign of silence.
Somebody in Luciferian society also told me that just progress and be silent about it. And who knows if the angels are teaching you or the demons? Who knows? Who is the authority? All are just books written by humans. Who is the authority? Who knows who is the authority? And somebody told me that, as it is written in Bible as well, that there were pre-Adamic races as well, Nephilims and people beyond Nephilims as well. So they have been people more powerful than us, and now at certain point they will try to claim this planet once again. It can be a possibility. Why not? Because I don't think those energies are dead, as symbolically they have shown in many films, many Hollywood films, many documentaries and stuff like that. Even in Indian mythology, African mythology, those things are not dead, but they are with us. They will try to claim this planet from the Adamic races. That we are the original God, something like that. I mean, it's easy to look at the human race as it is today and see that maybe that's already happening. Like the
just the situation we're in, where because of our economic balance, because of the flow of money around the world, we can't stop burning fossil fuels. And so we know we're cooking the planet. We know we're speeding up the demise of all life, and especially the human race. And yet we can't stop. Why? Well, because there's these numbers going back and forth, and people are invested in these numbers, and you can't stop it, because the only power that exists is people pulling their money, or which at this point,
kind of political power.
Yeah, with the fiat currency, it's not even real value. It's just somebody assigned a number somewhere. They're not even dollar bills anymore, let alone gold. It's just numbers, just like if somebody had a calculator and they were typing numbers on it. Exactly. And that's the reason why we're all fucked. Like, really? That sounds demonic. It sounds a little bit like something from another world messing with us, Or even, like in the book of Job, Shaitan or Satan showing God, like, hey, look, you think the humans are so great? Look how stupid they are. They're going to destroy their own planet. Because why? Because they're comfortable with air conditioning and driving around, and they're used to, all these things. And they don't want anybody to tell them that they can't, do this and that to do their one little piece of destroying the world. And since there's 8 billion of them doing it, then the world's going to get destroyed. It's strange. And these other races coming back and taking over, like what level? Like we can imagine that it's these big serpentine things that are going to come out of the ground physically, literally. But is it literal? Is it metaphorical? Or is it spiritual? Or is it something that's going to happen through us? Or something we can fight back, within the human race? It's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And there have been, talks with African people. Nowadays, there are a lot of other societies within African people which are Haitian, which are traditional voodoo, which are Kuhohu, or which are Egyptian, Kemetic, or Kushite Empire, or something like that. And some of them are claiming that they are one of the most ancient. What is your point of view on that? How they think that there have been their ancestors which were as it is said in Bible as well,
right?
That they were non-Adamic races, non-human races, beyond human energies. Maybe they have certain energies. And why not? You just see electric eel. If a crocodile tries to bite an electric eel, she would electrify a crocodile and it would die.
Yeah.
Isn't it a spiritual power? It is a kind of spiritual power.
Yeah.
It's a worldly power, but it's a spiritual power, kind of.
Yeah.
If some ignorant person will see. So, can it be possible? What is your take on that?
Well, I think that in recent centuries, the last 500, 600 years and further, and then going back further than that. You could take it back to Rome and Carthage. Carthage was on the African side of the Mediterranean, and Rome was on the European side of the Mediterranean. And they were comparable forces. They were two empires that were battling head to head. And Rome was able to overpower Carthage and salted the fields and did everything they could to sabotage the African empire to make sure that they never had a problem there again. And then in the 2,000 years since then, it's been the ball has been rolling. So when people are tapping into their ancestral memories, there's recent ancestral memories kind of on the lower astral level that are very angry, and for good reason, that they've been wronged in huge ways. Okay. And so I think that there's like multiple answers, that if you go far enough back, that you find our common ancestor. And if you meet a mother and a father who have children that are fighting amongst themselves, any mother and father are going to say, "Oh, I wish they'd stop fighting amongst themselves." You know what I mean? Yeah. So you and I have a common ancestor, and we have a common ancestor with Siddhartha, and we go all the way back. And we find our common ancestor, and that common ancestor surely would want India and Europe and Africa and the US to all work together and get along.
Work together, yeah.
But if you only go back 400 years or 300 years or 200 years or 50 years or 100 years or even just today, and you tap into ancestral currents and energies there and that are close to this world, that haven't transcended up to certain levels, that they're still kind of stuck in the astral, there's going to be hostility.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you run into organizations that say, we're the true and most ancient spiritual energy, and we want to, and we completely disregard, American and European imperialism as just pure evil, and anything over here in India or Asia is derivative because it all comes from here.
From Africa.
Yeah, or something like that. So there's truth and beauty in it, but there's also recent scars and pains and things that aren't completely in alignment with love and serenity and with maybe pure objectivity, and so. But I don't think that that's wrong or bad. It's there for a reason. So like if somebody cuts me and I have a scar, that scar reminds me of that incident, so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't wish to have no scars. I wouldn't wish to say take away all these bad memories, because then what? Then I'm vulnerable again. Then so I could be taken advantage of just like I was before.
Yeah.
And so I think it's right and good that there be certain skepticism and certain, like there was a woman I was talking to who I respect greatly, and she was telling me, I was telling her that I have a podcast called What Would Yeshi Do, and she was saying, oh yeah, if I didn't know you, I wouldn't listen to that podcast because you're a white male and you're talking about spiritual things, and not only that, you're talking in the name of a Tibetan woman, so why would I listen to a white man who claims to be talking in the name of a Tibetan woman? And I told her, you're right to think that. I didn't say you're wrong because it's different, like you know what I mean, that's true. History,
it's just moving on.
But I mean, like, given history and given looking at the world as it is, sure, be skeptical about me because I'm a white man, definitely, do that. I'm going to continue to do what I'm going to do, and I was given the body and the life that I was given and the gender. So I mean, I can't, I could have a sex change, and but I'm not going to. But it's not going to stop me from doing what I think I'm supposed to do in this life, and I'm going to do my best. And if people want to disregard me because I'm a white male, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I get it. I know my own history. I know the history of my people, and they've done a lot of shitty things, And so if people want to just say, yeah, I'm not into that, then okay, I get that. So I guess that's my point of view on that. Like, I don't have any negative. I don't have any ill will toward African spiritual groups that say that they're the one true. Any more than anyone else who says they're the one true thing.
Even I would like to quote one thing that if once I talk to African groups, they used to be the tortured ones once at a time, but now they are, they seem to be much more racist than anyone. Yeah, and even they claim that Indians come from them. And if I talk to the Indian people, they are so arrogant according to their spirituality that they say that Shiva is the only one, the rest all fuck off.
Yeah. You find that in Eurocentric culture too.
Yeah.
You'll find people who still say, oh, well, clearly we're the best and we're superior and our religion is the best. But then you also find in like Los Angeles and Asheville, North Carolina, and Austin, Texas, and all the places where you'd find, and Northern Europe, you find, well, it's mixed in Northern Europe, but you find people who maybe they go to the opposite side and they say, I don't like anything white. Like, I'm interested in everything as long as it's not white, or at least they're the most. I mean, I would tend to use the word progressive, the most questioning, the most experimental, the most. Let's go out on the edge of this. Let's really look at patriarchy and break it apart and break it down and unravel it and dismantle it and find a new way of living life. And so on the other end of that, and then there's even some arrogance that comes with that, like the, you know, people who are so far to the left politically or you know spiritually or that they assume that must be the correct way, and it's like, don't you see you're doing the exact same things that your ancestors did? You know, like you may not be a Puritan, you may call yourself a New Ager, you may not be a Christian, you may be doing yoga, but you're just as narrow-minded and egotistical and arrogant as your ancestors were. You know, exactly. So, I mean, like we were talking about earlier, human nature is human nature. There's genuine humility and there's false humility, and there's genuine arrogance, you know, and you'll find it everywhere you look. And and then there's the historical currents and how things got the way they are, and then at the same time there's like levels of education and wealth that all get mixed in together. So there's people who have the luxury of having been, you know, having learned all these things, having had all this time and peace of mind and not being in a war zone, that they can spend 25 years learning every different philosophy, learning every different religion, learning all the history of everything, and then to have this very well-developed, informed decision, but having never seen war, having never worked a day in their life, having no scars and having no calluses on their fingers, and never having turned a pipe or opened a can of anything. So it's all mixed up, you know, it's all mixed up. I don't even remember what the question was. But like, yeah, I mean, I can see how it's just like in 1930s Germany or anywhere else. It's enticing for anyone when someone comes along and says, hey, your people are the best, your race is the best, your skin color is the best, and here's why. Whatever the reason why doesn't even matter at that point. People say, yeah, I'm the best, and whatever you said was the reason why is why. And I'm angry about it, you know, and whatever. And it happened in Germany in the 30s, and it might happen in certain parts of Africa today, and it might happen in various communities around the world that people decide that they're the best, and, you know, and don't compare me to the Nazis, you know. But yeah, I mean, and then there's the other, and like I was talking about liberal West, you know, white people who grow up with the guilt of what their ancestors have done will tend to want to say everything Native American is good and spiritual and positive and holy. Everything Indian is good and spiritual and positive and holy. Everything African is good and spiritual and positive and holy. Everything European is evil and colonialism and imperialism and arrogance. And that's not true. It's just not true. I mean, because humanity is humanity, and there's compassion wherever you look, and there's goodness wherever you look, and there's people who are shit wherever you look. And
I can quote an example on that, because when there was British colonialism over here, I don't know who said that, but one of the British politicians said that you just change their education. These people are bloody so idiots that they will mess up their own system. That's what happened. And prior to that, there were a lot of idiotic rituals which were happening in India in the name of Shiva, in the name of Shakti. And that was Sati Pratha. That means when the husband is dead, the wife is gonna jump into a burning furnace.
Yeah, they had that kind of stuff in Egypt.
Brutal,
too.
It's brutal.
Yeah,
and they used to do that. Women did that, and they used to be considered as goddess just because they jumped into furnace of their, burning husband's
It takes
body.
a lot to jump into a furnace. I mean, that is a courageous act, but still, it's not a great tradition.
Yeah, it's not a good tradition.
No.
Not at all.
No.
And there was one more thing which was abolished while British rule. That was untouchables tradition. That there were a lot of people who were from. There are 4 sects here. Brahman are those people who are intellects. who has got the knowledge, like the people of Bible community, they have the knowledge of Latin.
The priests.
Priests
Yeah.
who translates everything
Yeah.
to people. In the same way, Indian people have knowledge of Sanskrit. Those are Brahmins. They translate everything to the normal people. It is not necessarily that the gods or anyone who came here translated everything in Sanskrit, but those bloody idiots, they translated everything to Sanskrit so that they have to translate everything to normal man. So that they have the power. Something exactly is said by Osho, and that's why I like him, because at least a little bit of rebellion and blind faith is not good. Bhakti is good because at least you're not believing in a living human who can manipulate you. All of the gods and everything are dead. If you believe on that energy, you might, according to the chaos magic principles, you might create an egregore, which is a thought energy which might manifest into reality, but that is not a living human being which is going to manifest the reality into the lies.
Or his grandkid. Or whatever. Yes. Whoever inherits the throne.
So, that is why I like Osho a lot. There are a lot of things which got abolished here in India as well. Sati Pratha, which is burning the woman into furnace, which is untouchables Pratha. That means there are a lot of people. There are 4 sects here. One is Brahman, intellectual people. Vaishya means business class. Kshatriya means warrior class. So the intellectual class who holds the knowledge, kind of politicians, maybe, or the spiritual people. Second is Vaishya, business class. Third is Kshatriya, warrior class. Fourth is Shudra, those people who clean all the dirty, whatever, your sanitary things and stuff like that. Those are Shudras. And they used to they created 4 classes. And who created 4 classes? No one is in history is sure of that. No one in history is sure of that.
They think it was the Aryans when they came down, right?
Aryans, exactly.
They made themselves the Brahmins.
Exactly. I've heard about the same. That Dravidians or the black Indians were the actual Indians, but the Aryans who came here, they created the caste system. But still, it's a theory, but nobody is sure of that. But we are going to consider that as well. Because we have heard about that. So there might be some kind of truth in that as well. So they created the caste system and they created such kind of things. But Tantra and stuff like yoga might not be the yoga which is promoted by exactly the main Hindus. Stuff like yoga was promoted by Shudras, the lower class, business class, warrior class, and the Brahmins as well. The ways were different, but things actually worked, and they were powerful, and they actually worked, So all the 4 castes, I believe, came from one source. That is why they had got the knowledge, and due to cultural differences or something like that, things transformed into something else, but the essence remained the same. That is the thing. But even my brother, even he says to me that do not mess around with the demonic things, smarty pants. I know the Tantra, you do not know. Okay, so here where I see a little bit of arrogance, and I can see, okay, I do not condemn you, but I have been doing the Indian folk. I have taken the Diksha. If you talk about the Diksha is a ritual in which you have been granted the power to chant that mantra. But I have taken the Diksha bloody, I do not see any difference. I do not see any difference. The only thing is that I talk to other Tantra mates. It's written in your book that if you chant this mantra 10,000 times, then you will attain the perfection. What is the guarantee? What is the guarantee? Until you have reached the gnosis here. Have you reached the perfection? No, I don't think so. No, I disagree. They say. And according to them, they say, no, you have violated your father, you have violated Shiva, and things like that. That you do not believe in your father and you believe other people and stuff like that. But until and unless you have not achieved gnosis, how the things are going to get manifested? Even the law of attraction says that you cannot attract what you think. I am thinking continuously about money. Yeah. Why I'm not a millionaire?
Yeah.
Why I'm not a millionaire?
Yeah.
And I think whatever it is said in Bible, or whatever it is said in Bhagavad Gita, and laws of attraction, they say that you do not attract what you think, you do attract what you are at this point of time. Your mind, if you have got certain suspicion that I'm an IT guy, I can do this much of work, apart from this, I cannot do this work. If my mind knows this, how my soul is going to manifest that?
Yeah.
If I'm not believing that, then how my soul is going to manifest that? That is the reality that I have seen in my life. And that is what my fight with these Indian and other colloquial people all about. I always counter question them that, okay, your tradition, my tradition is one of the oldest, but what if I'm chanting certain names, chanting certain gods, but they do not appear? Are they angry with me? Why? I have not given them enough or something? Then they answer me that all the rubbish stuff, philosophical stuff. I question them once again. It is written in your book, I chant the name of Vishnu, I chant the name of Shiva, or whatever ritual it is, 10,000 times. Okay? I do not have a master. Then how many times I have to chant this name in order to reach gnosis? They say 10,000 times. Okay, I have chanted this name 10,000 times, but I haven't reached gnosis. Will I attain the perfection or siddhi? Will I attain the power? They're not sure about this.
Yeah.
They're not sure about this.
Yeah.
So that means they are not clear about their own subject.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, I counter question them that, okay, I'm into bhakti yoga, I'm completely into devotion, I'm into gnosis, completely into gnosis. Still I do not see anything and I do not experience anything else apart from blissfulness. Apart from blissfulness in meditation. I do not see any gods, I do not see any bloody demons, I do not see anything else. How do you explain that? Why did Buddha see all these idiotic things? That means he was autistic or something.
Yeah, schizophrenia or something. Yeah.
They do not have got any answer to these questions.
Yeah.
So that means, these societies can be ancient, but even the ancient societies haven't got the answers to the most basic questions.
Yeah.
We can only, once we go into meditation, I feel once we go into meditation, we would be able to understand what Rosicrucian is all about, what Golden Dawn is trying to tell. 7 heavens or 7 akasha, 7 chakras, all the same thing, what they're trying to talk about. Even if the numbers differ, we would be able to relate because we have seen it inside meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we have not seen it, we would straightly condemn. It is not written in our religion. You are devilish. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what my point of view have reached at this point of time. And book is not complete as yet, but I'm writing a book with the title The Game. The book's name is The Game. The Game, Play of the Primal Forces. It's all the play of primal forces. Who knows, I and you can be the favorite bitch of which ancient god. Who knows which god is playing through our body. Who knows? And inside meditation, maybe inside dreams or inside our astral body, someday we would know that I'm getting these recurring dreams. I'm seeing this face, exactly this face. Maybe he is one of my ancestors. He's calling me for some of my duties. What are my duties? Maybe they are not documented in any book, any Bhagavad Gita, but that is the truth because you're able to see that.
Yeah.
And that is what I have reached. That is the point that I have reached till now. And mystery, I believe, is the path. Because there was a movie in which there was a concept of demonic possession. Possession of Emilia Rose, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? There was a lawyer who said a very useful thing. She said that facts leave no room for discussion. If it is a fact, everybody knows sun rises in the east. There is no room for discussion in that. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
And if there is room for discussion, that means it's not a fact.
Yeah.
There is room for discussion. We got to discuss it.
Yeah.
Or we got to clarify all the details, whether it's a fact or it's just an ideology.
Yeah.
And once we get into meditation, you talk to other people, and if you are able to relate certain things to other people who you have not met, whom you have not met and you have not talked to, and for the first time you talk to them and your experience are able to relate, how come? How come? That means there has to be some energy working behind you two both. Maybe your ancestors are trying to connect you, maybe anything else, maybe angelic, demonic energy. Who knows? Who knows? Some people say that African energy or African religion, we are the originators of Americans, or we are the originators of Indians as well. My question is, carbon dating states that this is the oldest mummy, but carbon dating would not state what we have not found yet. Who knows? My question is, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Who is the original ancestor? Who knows? And till then we keep, even if you're talking to Shiva, even if you're talking to Krishna, you're talking to cosmos itself, and even if you're talking to Nuit itself is a blue body, and blue body, it's sky. You're worshipping sky, you're worshipping the energy of sky. You're calling universe itself. What else? Who else you're calling?
Yeah.
And one day your ancestors calls you, or the universe calls you. Universe is the eternal ancestor, and he gives you the knowledge. Then all Bibles, all Bhagavad Gita, or all Sikh, or all any other scriptures are wronged.
Yeah.
Eternally.
Yeah.
Foolish.
Yeah.
This is right. What you have seen. because you have experienced it. Rest all is bloody bullshit.
Yeah.
In bits and pieces, it's right, but in totality.
St. Paul actually said something very similar. That right now I know in part, but then at that time I will know completely, and the partial knowledge will fall away. And he says, right now I think as a child, I act as a child, I believe as a child, but then I will be grown. And when you're a grown man, the childish things fade away, just like our partial knowledge will be washed away once we have that full knowledge.
Exactly. That's a very wise thing to say, and the same things are replicated in the so-called Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
There is subtle knowledge in that.
Yeah.
Subtle knowledge is there.
Oh yeah.
And other movies like this Doctor Strange and stuff like that. Many other movies
Matrix.
are like that.
Yeah,
Matrix,
yeah.
exactly. I was not able to understand that movie in first go. On the second and third go, I was able to slightly understand that this is the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. It's one of the same thing that they're trying to tell, but it's in a little bit advanced in
Like
technological
modern.
way.
Yeah.
Something like that. But what if it's correct?
Yeah.
What if it's right? What if the governments are using us in the same way? And this is right. Recently, I believe there was a small nasty event which happened. A small 8-year girl was raped and killed. That was a Muslim girl. And the government which is in power in India is BJP. And BJP are strictly Hindus. And they are not willing to speak on this Muslim girl's rape event because they are strictly Hindus. That's a ghastly event. But who would be able to explain this nasty event? Who would be? Who did that? What if a Hindu has done that? What if a Muslim has done that? Who would explain this? Whose religion would explain that?
Right.
In which religion is written this?
Yeah.
About to, rape girls like this. This is nasty.
Yeah.
I believe, there was a story which I was reading, maybe a case study which I was reading, in which it was written that you put a frog in a bowl of water and it's cold. Start heating that.
Right.
He would not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then eventually the water's boiling.
Yeah. And once he's boiling, he
It's
would
too
actually
late.
boil, but he would not be able to jump out of it.
Yeah. It's too late. But if you turn it up too quickly, the frog jumps out.
Yeah.
It's the expression boiling the frog. So if you want to get people used to something crazy, you do it a little bit at a time. Like right now in the U.S., with the Trump presidency, it's like, here's a little bit of crazy. Here's a little more crazy. Here's a little more crazy. And then at a certain point, you have the president's lawyer has been arrested because of a porn star, and so the president's declaring war on Twitter, and people are just sort of like waking up to this in the morning and going, oh, I kind of expected this, as opposed to like, this is insane. This is totally stupid, because it's happened gradually.
Oh, what do you think about him and
Jesus.
Vince McMahon? I think they both are friends.
Vince McMahon? Which one
Vince
is he?
McMahon of WWF and...
Oh, I haven't heard about this. Any final thoughts before we wrap up the episode?
I don't know. We can think of something else. You can wrap up with this, but once we come up with something interesting, we can record it.
That's true.
Yeah. After all, I want to make, one small video for my own channel as well.
Nice.
There's a small channel of mine which is named by my Shiva. Anadi. Anadi means the one which is beyond. Anadi means which is beyond the limits of time. It doesn't have any starting point. Anadi. Anant means which is endless, eternity. And Shiva means a pure energy. So I have created a channel with the name Anadi Anant Shiva. And in that channel I post all my travels to different Himalayan places and different interviews with colloquial people.
Nice.
Singing their songs, and even their songs are not related to romanticism, just romanticism. Romanticism is just part of material life.
Yeah.
But they sing their songs which are related to kind of Himachal people. They're fantasizing having sex with element air. They're fantasizing having sex with fire. They're fantasizing creating a relationship with Mother Nature, something like that.
Yeah.
It is very powerful.
Yeah.
And even Bible is all not idiotic, because there are a lot of Gnostic texts which came out of it. Even in Makkah and Medina, people start crying when they start praying. So there has to be some kind of power in that.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
Nice. So people can find that YouTube channel by searching for...
Yeah.
What was it?
Anadi Ananta Shiva.
Cool. Nice.
I'll send you the YouTube channel as well.
Cool.
And there are just 2 or 3 journeys which we have covered. There are a lot more journeys that we want to cover.
Yeah.
At this point of time, we have pressure of having a baby.
Yeah.
But first of all, I want to make some money, and then, so that I can bear the
So
pressure.
you just had a baby, or you're having one? Or?
We'll plan a baby.
Oh, I see.
We'll plan a baby.
Nice.
Just want to make a little more from my job and stuff. And then we'll have a baby.
Oh, cool.
Uploading the same kind of journeys and talks with different kind of people
Yeah.
on my channel. It's good.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you for being my guest on the Esoterinerd podcast today.
Thank you, Edward.
Absolutely. Surely it won't be the last time.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. We'll do this again.
Surely. Once I visit Colorado, I believe,
Nice.
or you visit India.
That's true. Or we meet somewhere else in the world.
Yeah, surely.
Thank you, Amandeep, for being our guest today on the Esoterinerd podcast. Special thanks to Susumu Ueda and his father and the other monks at Jofuku-in Temple on Mount Koyasan for providing the music that you're hearing right now, as well as the introduction music. Special thanks to Ma Rewa for the track Indian Ocean, the accompaniment for our new segment, Indian Magic. Special thanks to Piyu for informing us about and providing step-by-step instructions on warding off the evil eye. We were actually having that conversation up on the roof underneath the pink full moon. And most importantly, thank you to you, the Esoterinerd, listening to this podcast. May the three-eyed one, who is fragrant and who nourishes well all beings, liberate you from death. Until next time, Namaste.